The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent. Okay. Give me one if you all can hear me. Give me one if you all can hear me. All right. Shalom, salama, Siemi, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're of the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you this morning. Yeah, the reason I was saying give me a one, I have noticed a lot of our channels, if you've noticed what I've been noticing, a lot of the buffering in the content. And I'm going to probably say that more than likely they're doing that on purpose, especially as these videos are recorded, uploaded. And, you know, these are a lot of the soft tactics that are utilized against our people to have us lose interest. Well, you know what? We have bad quality here, but you can have good quality there with a message that you don't agree with, but it's a message that we're going to push on out to you. This is all it's all propaganda. When I tell you propaganda goes very deep, it does. And understanding how things occur when they are propagandized, that then creates an issue when, of course, their propaganda isn't very effective. And so I wanted to come on because a couple things were happening today as we speak, and a couple of different sites on out there that I wanted to, and stories, because this weekend I would say um was very I don't know, impactful, but not impactful. The lack of certain things is, well, let me tell you, it's showing everything that we were discussing in this channel, in this broadcast. And what I want to tell people and show people is there's a reason that these things are happening. There's a level of this, there's an impact to this that, again, we don't really see, but we can start to feel and ascertain, because when we notice their script, they don't do a lot of deviation from it. It's just really the timing. And now that our timing has started to really get a little bit more accurate, there's a precision to that. So that preciseness is starting to get a little higher, because the accuracy has always been there. It's just now that time, that precision in terms of how close we are, well, that's now starting to, I would say, in my opinion, it's now starting to show how things are really moving, because this isn't just what we're saying or we're feeling or this and that. This is actually what the word has been declaring. And now that we're seeing what the word has been declaring, now you're starting to see, well, there's going to be a campaign to really, they can't just obviously go and shut channels down and things of that nature, because the reality is that all the things that we have been stating for the long for a very long time is the same things that now you're starting to hear from other ethnic groups, different racial components. And again, what we've stated, it isn't out of malice or hate, but it's out of correction, because if you don't know what needs to be corrected, then in ignorance, you're going to continue to do the same thing that you have been instructed to do. And the reality is that that instruction, all I could do is think about every single time we're seeing things happening. We're seeing these videos coming from other communities that have disparaged us. All I could think of is Daniel 16 and 19, or excuse me, Jeremiah 16:19, and Second Esdras chapter 15, when it talks about daughter of Asia. Because why? Because now this is the antithesis of what they could not control in their narrative. And again, I'd like to say, for all the folks of Asian descent, no, withholding our dollars is not racist. It's not. This is just the very first time that we have systematically withheld our monies outside of the Caucasian community. And now that's going to be something that they're going to have to figure on out, because, again, their forefathers told them lies. Thank you, Brother Asaph. Second Ezra 15:45. They're now understanding, because let's actually admit, when I'm looking at these tech inventions in China, let's admit, let's be truthful. China is way ahead in terms of ingenuity, technology, things of that nature. But what China doesn't want to do, they don't want to, number one, declare themselves like that, because they know that that will lead to the wrath and ire of the United States. You can't declare yourself as a competitor because then you run the risk, and that's what China's doing. They're running the risk of destabilization. And now, as people are seeing, wow, that's a viable choice. Wow. You mean it doesn't cost that much? You mean you just have to conform in different social manners? Conformisms. Yeah, it's a conformity. But people act like we don't do the same thing here in the United States. Yes, you are conformed from the very first time that you are in daycare, childcare. You're learning how to conform to a structure. At 3 years old, you're learning how to understand literally the effects of racism and white supremacy because studies have showed that that was the age to where there's an understanding. Gee, doesn't that sound familiar in the Old Testament? Our people would be in service. If you were in the priest, if you were born as a Levi, you're in the priestly class. Oh, you're doing service at age 3. They're teaching you at age 3, not at age 5, 6, at age 3, because you can formulate. What does that mean? That means that kids are already reading. Kids can learn at age 3. It's just whether you want to take the time to teach them. It's whether you want to take the time to invest in their knowledge, in their capacity, in their understanding. Absolutely. One of the proudest things my dad would used to say to my brother and I, is that he was proud that when he was married to my mom, they made sure that they had us reading at 3 years old. What did that mean? That meant that we were on our ABCs, one, two, threes, because we had an expectation. Same thing that we have right now. The Bible, the Word, has an expectation for us. We messed up that expectation because we were rebellious. Do you not understand that we were a rebellious teenager? We were rebellious children. And so we had to have the rest of our young adult formative lives in an age of captivity. I kind of liken it to this. We're in our 20s. We got here at about 19 years old. Now we're really here at about our late 20s. And now we're beginning to wake up. And if you had, I look at this, I look at these things, and honestly, listen, it delights me, it enheartens me to see our people, they look, they don't know what that this is a spiritual thing. And you know, you don't have to just be, oh, it's so spiritual. Oh, it's just look, just be receptive and loving of our people and say, thank you, Father, that you are doing this. It's like when you start to see your child standing, talking, you get proud. You don't have to lecture your child that, look, see how the Most High is moving? See how the Most High, you know, it's prophesied in His Word. It's it. Just take the moment and let the child walk because you're not going to be saying, okay, go ahead, get the groceries, go ahead, drive that car. You walking now. A lot of us, we don't have patience with our people. Man, just let them figure this on out. They're just learning how to walk. If you push that child and they're constantly falling because you're trying to speed them along in a process that they don't necessarily have been given that acumen for, that they don't necessarily have been given that gumption, that intestinal fortitude. I'm bringing in a lot of these. I'm bringing in a lot of these teaching philosophies that's here because there are some things that I glean that's knowledgeable. Because you got to understand our people are now in a spiritual development growth cycle. And just because someone doesn't get it right away doesn't mean that they're not a learner. Everybody is a learner. It just depends on how much you read, how much you learn, how much you want to understand the material. And let's just be honest, how much you have been in a comfort zone. Because why? Because you have people here that don't want you to stand up. You have people here that just want you to continue to crawl or lay down or cry because if you're crying, then guess what? You're occupied. Have you noticed that? The moment that you stop crying, the moment that you stop complaining, the moment that you start to understand, wait a second, I can start to see things and figure things on out, that's when you start to think. That's when you start to comprehend and grasp what is happening outside of your emotional comprehension. Because there's emotional comprehension and then there's cognitive comprehension. Sorry, I'm just bringing you all into my teaching workshops because that's what it is. When you're trying to emotionally understand things, you act on emotion. And guess what? You're either going to give up and fail because you'll say, this is too hard for me. I cannot comprehend. I cannot understand. And then you will have people not just being resistant, but they'll have a resentment. You'll have people resent you and hate you. Because why? because you weren't patient with them. Have you noticed that that's probably occurred with a lot of our family members? I have. This isn't an indictment on just people. No, this is an explanation of what we've all gone through. And I say we collectively, because I know for most people hearing this and on this channel, yes, because in our toddlerisms, we began to understand how to run. We were running, we were sprinting out the gate, and we had still folks that were on their stomachs. And when you're trying to push a toddler as a toddler, and you see that they're not developmentally growing with you on that spiritual level, when you try to push them, then guess what happens? They get mad, they get angry, they start to what? To cry. So when you're trying to explain to them in the cognitive, all they can do is respond to you in the emotional. I know. I'm sorry. I'm digging into this. It was Father's Day yesterday, and us fathers on out there. There's been a point in time where we try to push our kids because that's what we do as fathers. We want to have our kids to develop, to be better, to protect, to sustain. And now we can see that as a community, we were trying to move a bit too fast, and our rest of our community, they weren't spiritually ingrained like that. When you don't have a relationship with Yahushua Hamashiach, it's 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 hard. I know. Shout out to all the fathers on out there and the mothers, but yeah, we see this. We see what says tantrums happen when you push kids too fast. They absolutely do. So what do you have to do? You have to be loving and kind and caring. The greatest of all these commandments is to what? To love your neighbor. To love. To love who? To love Yahuwah with all your heart, all your soul, and all your strength. And guess what? Who does he love? He loves his people. He knows that his people are slow. We are. We deal with deficits. We do. He knows that his children are usually in the corner, having to be in the contained corner so they can function properly, trying to have things modeled to them because that's who we are. We're not dumb. We're just defiant. And our defiance comes in resentment because our resentment is, man, we know way too much. I'm just waiting for everybody else to catch up with me. I'm done with this lesson. Is there anything else that I can do? Is there anything else that I can learn? Because this pace is not my pace. I need to go a little bit more. I need to do a little bit more. And generally, that's what we do. You know how frustrating that was being a teacher and having to limit their capacity to learn. It was frustrating because I could see the kids, they wanted to learn. They wanted to get that understanding. They even asked a couple questions. Dr. Copeland, Dr. Copeland, where is it? Dr. Copeland, how is that? And I would say, you're asking some great questions. Unfortunately, you asked them here in a public school district, in a public education. I said, what I would do is I would ask your parents the same questions and have them understand some things and go from there. I'd have to say, are you the are your people religious? You know, I'd have to say that. Some things, you know, I may not be able to give you the answer, but usually what I do, personally speaking, what I do, you know, I have to put that those contexts. Usually I'll read my Bible to get answers. That's what I do. So I had to put it smartly. Because when you say you need to or you should or you, guess what that does? Well, now you're proselytizing. So you have to be smart about how you have your interactions. It doesn't mean you can't. It just means that you can. You just have to be smart about the way that you describe it. This is what I do. What do? I model myself. Let me show you how I model myself. I do this. I do that. I get on up. I read the word every day. I pray every day. I thank the Most High every day, in the good, in the bad, in the frustrations. Because why? Because these are frustrating times. These are the times to where the enemy is losing. And as the enemy is losing, guess what? What do you think the enemy is going to try and do? He's going to try to have all the frustrations being poured out upon who? Upon the Most High's people. Because why? Because he only has a short period of time. You want to know why these benchmark activities? We're talking about this in Q2A. The benchmark activities. Because why? They only have a short period of time. All of these different diplomatic detentes, which is fake in my opinion. They know where this is going. They know how this is going. But you have to remember, Babylon falls in a day. So, what do you think they're just going to broadcast that Babylon is going to fall? Absolutely not. But what they will say is they'll give you little clues. They'll give you little this and that. Because why? Because here's the thing. Legally, they are obligated to tell you the truth. Oh, you didn't know that, did you? And I think a lot of our people have an understanding. They've been around on these channels. There's a legal framework. Even guess what? Even Satan, even Hasatan has to operate in the legal framework. You got to tell a little bit of truth. He's the father of lies, but in order for your lies to stick, you got to tell a little bit of truth. That little bit of truth provides just enough, just enough of the. Sorry, I'm at a loss for words today. The credibility that has people seeing what they're seeing, and then you get the twist. And that's what would happen. These folks on out here, oh, well, you know, it's credible. But a shadowy talk. Well, what's really not being said? There's a lot of stuff that was not being said. We were just saying it. And as we're saying it, guess what? They didn't want to hear it because why? Because we were already fighting against a force that had long been established way before you and I and anyone that we have known was here before, had been established, had been ingrained. We're not just talking about a decades long, a years long. We're talking about centuries long, millennia long. We're talking about a system that has been developed over deep seated hatred between the dragon and the woman. We're talking about a people that's who was spoiled because why? Because they mixed with the dragon. Just call it what it is. It's in Revelations. Esau seed was spoiled. Well, it says it right there. What does that mean? Y'all can figure it on out. We're all adults. Well, most of us. I don't know. Most of us. I don't know if there's kids. And there's young kids in here. Cover your ears. That's why they don't like to tell you what is in their gene structure. Have you noticed that? I'm gonna tell you this. The very first thing we do when we get out to the continent, everybody's going through a genome test, myself included. Not to be and let me tell you this, we already know 65% of black men here in the United States have some sort of European ancestry. And that's because of what was going on in the population here in this here in the South in the slave trade. Well, not South, the United States in general. We can still be mixed and still be darker than dark. It's kind of hilarious. We could be lighter than light, or we could be darker than dark. It is pretty hilarious. Just how that goes. You think that's how I think about all of our brothers and sisters over in Brazil. But the reason I say all that and I bring that on up is because again, you don't have a population study to look at the genetics. And I would say this, that's the very first thing. Look, you know, the greatest thing about a lot of these phenomenological case studies, grounded theory, ethnographic, all these other different qualitative studies that you can then have quantify via blood samples. Hey, this blood sample will show that blood sample shows. But then guess what? Once you start to deduce, once you start to look at and, and extract that DNA, well, wait a second. Where did this DNA come from? This is the DNA. And where did that? Oh, they don't know. Look, okay. Maybe Yakoba's right. Maybe that's why they want to get rid of us because maybe, as C. Weston stated, European ancestry is evidence of a crime against our people. Hmm. On top of that, our for most of our DNA, what does that also do? Oh, well, once you analyze that portion, then you can start to analyze some other things. It's not just the crime scene that they want to get rid of. that DNA also tells on them in more ways than one. And I'll leave it like that. That's why we would need to have that would be one of the first things. Look, look, I'm telling you, and I've had these discussions in the background. You're absolutely right. We got to get a university in there. We got to get medical pathology, all this other stuff up on in there. Because again, if you are dealing with the people that know how things work and know how to target things through DNA, as some pandemics that happened within the last decade had targeted certain was purported, let me get this together so YouTube doesn't mess me up, had been purported to target certain allele structures of non-human form of different variants of non-standard human forms or non-standard forms within human. I can't put it more obvious than that, or else YouTube will YouTube will definitely strike this channel down. So just imagine when you're back on the continent. To me, that's what I always think of. I think of it as kind of a that was the case run. Okay, now we know what to target, how to bioengineer. Because again, people think that warfare is just fought with weapons and missiles and all sorts of things. No, you could have germ warfare, radiation, biological. You can have economic warfare. The list goes on and on and on. And I tell people, I'm like, you know what I'm saying, and they're putting it right on out there. See, when they're a truth channel, they see these little comments and then they'll target that. I'll just let you all slide with that. But yes, they'll target that. What we say and what we do and how we comment, it does mess with the algorithm. But let me tell you, if you just put on in there praise Jesus, hallelujah, rapture time. You put on in there all lives matter, then guess what? Then that boost will happen. Those are the large language models that they have. Those are the keywords, the identifiers. Pray for our president. God loves America. We need to have revival in the land. Oh yeah, that would definitely be blowing up an algorithm. Hence, that's why you can barely even find me. And we used to grow. We actually used to grow, and then they stagnate you on a certain level. That's why I've been stagnated for like 5,000 subscribers for like 3 years. Like 3 years. And that's because, they it's a cutoff. And the thing is, I've always said this on this channel, on this platform, and many platforms. Again, I don't think we have that much time left. I said that. We don't have that much time left. Hey, I'll see you when I see you. Because that is getting ready to happen whether we see it or not. I just thought that this was interesting here. I want to share this article before I get into the swing of things, because to this happens to correlate to the World Cup. World Cup, World Cup, yeah, awesome World Cup. Go Team USA, World Cup. So I try and do a little bit of algorithm boost hype. See if I could share this. So this is from LA Times. Iran's beleaguered World Cup team finds hope withdraw against Belgium. And let me tell you this: a draw is this during any type of soccer. So you have wins, lose, and draws, right? They draw a lot, but just because they draw, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not necessarily a bad thing. You can still get points from your draw, so it's still a point scoring system. But what was happening was that with the Iran team, they were um, they had basically everything stacked against them. They wanted to make this as unfair for them as possible. And this is from Kevin Baxter, June 21st, 2026. Iran plays Belgium to a scoreless draw at SoFi Stadium, moving to the cusp of advancing to the knockout stage of a World Cup for the first time. Forced to relocate training and restricted in the U.S., Iran has turned adversity into resilience so far at the World Cup. Belgium is in danger of once again failing. So I don't really care about the Belgium part, but this person Kevin Baxter of wrote yesterday, Iran's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad World Cup got a little better Sunday, and it could wind up being the country's best because after playing Belgium to a scoreless draw before another packed house at SoFi Stadium, Iran is in position to win its group after two games, to win its group and advance to the knockout rounds for the first time in seven World Cups. And I liken that. The reason I want to read that story is because the funny thing is that every time, and that's what I was, and I do follow the World Cup. I've been following the World Cup. I'm a soccer watcher, a fan, My touches on the ball make sure that I'm a fan and a fan only. My son is definitely a football player, a soccer player. And yes, it is very interesting to see this because what was happening in this whole time, they're making the Iranian team every time they play in the United States, they gotta drive another almost 2.5, 3 hours. Okay. 2.5, 3 hours to go to LA because they're in like Tijuana. How crazy is that? It's probably more than that. It's probably like 4 or 5 hours with that LA traffic. How crazy is that? And of course, they're going to be driving because would you trust the U.S. and flying an entire soccer club on like a private or chartered jet? Man, you know that thing would be blown out the sky. I'm sorry. You can get mad at me. It may not help my algorithm, but I'm rooting for Iran. I was rooting for Iran. And when they got that draw, I said, yeah. But I'm also rooting for Cape Verde too, because Cape Verde. When they had left Spain scoreless, all I could think of, I said, well, that's a good team. Go ahead. They can get mad at me because I'm supporting Iran's soccer team. Listen, with all that adversity, yeah, DR Congo's was playing pretty well. I think they're going to lose the group, but they were at least trying to play. They have some good players. A lot of the players they have, they play in decent leagues. A lot of the Iranian players they play over in UAE, so that's a decent league. So it shows that all of the quote unquote tariffs and embargoes and restrictions that they'd have, sanctions. I don't know, man. I can only hope to. I can only empathize with them. Like, man, now black folks could see, like, dang, that's the same thing, same exact stuff that they do to us, and it's like, yeah, same exact stuff they do to us. And now all of a sudden, you're starting to see that. Look, okay, you could look, but we have to. That's the survivor's instinct. They don't like to tell you about what the Iranians did for black folks when they took over back in the 1970s. They said y'all are free to leave. That was documented. It's not your fight. Black folks, you can go. It's not your fight. That was documented. I'm sorry. Listen, Iran's done nothing to me. Iran's done nothing to black folks. All I know is that when they do partner up and do things over in Africa, they support with different technologies. You don't see them plotting or hosting coups. That's why I tell people, I'm like, man, just are we still that dense that we can't understand what's happening in front of us? And the answer is a lot of our people are still that dense. But what ends up happening is when they see things like this and they start to understand all of these, what's happening, because do you think that, I'm going to tell you this, these articles, do you think that they were allowed to say these things in these articles? Yeah, Uncle Ruckus was working the shredder. He said, I'm not going nowhere, Robert. I got to make sure I shred all these papers for these good white folks. I was trying to make sure that they were having their neck, their knee on the neck. That needs to be a good Boondocks episode right there. Oh, oh, that would be a funny Boondocks episode. You could only imagine the amount of Robert Freeman. Fuckers, get your behind on out here. Don't you know they're about to take over the embassy? Are you crazy? Forget you. Oh man. I'm sure all the other folks, I'm sure all the other black folks. How come you never hear about any of their interviews from them black folks? Because you know that as soon as that happened, they had a cease and desist order. You better not say nothing. Like, oh man. Well, if I say something about that, then I'm not a good patriot. That's what I was told. I was told I wasn't a good patriot. So much for being a patriot now when you can't even make it to being a four-star general anymore. Oh yeah, that ceiling is only to '05. Lieutenant Colonel, Commander. Good luck being a colonel or a captain. I do have to say, yeah, I'll be cheering on, throwing my support when Iran plays Egypt. Even though I do like Egypt, I've been to Egypt a couple times in my life, more than than I wanted to go. But I say all that to say this. Let me get into this tab right here. Because there's some things I'm trying to build up. Listen, brother Asaph. Listen. He says they're not calling you back, Harris, even though you're a captain with a doctorate. The Army will say it's DEI. Oh yeah, exactly, exactly. I scholarly promoted myself out of any type of being called back up to military service. We don't want smart Negroes. Oh my goodness. My goodness. Okay. I want to share this because I this happened. This happened really one of the one of the last days we were on air, but a lot of stuff was going on with Ghana, so I didn't want to steal that shine. But I was like, okay, interesting. You're hearing it from the horse's mouth. This is the buildup I was trying to get to. But you're hearing this now from the horse's mouth. Oh, come on. Sorry, this thing is just not cooperating. Wow, this is not cooperating at all. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Trump says, this is from The Hill. Trump says oil reserves would run out in 4 weeks without Iran deal, risking bedlam. This was from Mallory Wilson and Rachel Frazen as of June 17th, so a couple days ago, it's last week. I'm surprised that this went over a lot of people's ears. I have so many things running to have it from The Hill. Yeah, this is crazy. President Trump said Wednesday that oil reserves could have run out in 4 weeks if the Strait of Hormuz were not opened. We run out of reserves at about 4 weeks, Trump said in France, while, while at the Group of Seven summit. Discussing a recent memorandum of understanding with Iran, there are reserves all over the world, and we would really run out, and there will be a time when you wouldn't be able to get it. That sounds like a 7-year-old. I'm sorry. Doesn't is that vernacular? That's very 7-year oldish. There are reserves all over the world, and we would really run out, and there'll be a time when you wouldn't be able to get. All right, I'm sorry. It's frustration when I hear that. It's just, well, idiocracy. We're in the idiocracy generation, I guess. He said it would be bedlam if the oil ran out. What this does, it allows the ships to go. He said of the Iran deal, if we keep bombing, those ships won't be going. It's not entirely clear whether Trump was referring to U.S. or global oil inventories. The White House declined to elaborate, referring The Hill back to Trump's original remarks because they don't want to say anything. In recent weeks, the International Energy Agency, an organization of oil consuming countries, has warned of declining oil reserves. IEA head Fatih Birol said last month oil reserve releases We're helping to keep up the market supply, but warned he warned the reserves are not endless. So now you're starting to see what it is that we've been saying for quite a while. So that's very interesting to see that, because again, what that is showing. Hopefully, I'm a little bit better. That site was not a good one. When there's like just the sites become too much, and they do that to disrupt and buffer these things down, because it's a whole lot of packets from website traffic for stupid stuff. That's how things slow down. And yes, authentic Israelite, his vernacular is quite primary level. It's oil bad, ships not going, straight closed, bad, bad. It's literally, that's the idiocracy level. And you know, the reality is, I used to kind of laugh and joke like that. You know, like, hey, we have to put on and have a little bit more context than just, things bad, not good. I used to say that things bad, not good. This dude is saying the exact same thing I would tell my class to not say, to have context, to explain things. So how do you expect people in this environment? How are you going to learn? You're not learning anything, because now your primary your primary model of learning, the one that's actually in charge of the Department of Education, sounds like he's very uneducated. Sounds like there's an educational deficit. Me, Tarzan, you, Jane. Exactly, Jerry. Oh no, he went to university, but what they tell you is, I think they said his transcripts are sealed. You could go to college. Look, you wonder why he never got his master's, because there's another degree of academic acumen that he didn't want to do. And I think it's because, honestly, he probably couldn't do. I got my bachelor's. Yeah, what did it? Yeah, they called it national security, that you couldn't see his transcripts. Yo, that's just how he's talking like that. He is talking like that. Which means that, to be honest, and that's the case that we see for a lot of these people, the generation that was the '80s hype generation, they're now in the driver's seat, and this thing is crashing. Did you ever take your study seriously? I didn't need to. I had a rich daddy. What about you? Oh, I had a rich dad too. I had a rich family also. Ha 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 ha. Well, I was an idiot, but I was kept around because I had money. This is the old adage or adage. Just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean that you're very smart. It just means you have money. And what does it always say? What does the word say? A fool in his wealth, in his wealth shall soon depart. But, you know, when he says that he doesn't read the Bible, now you know why. Because maybe he can't read. You really don't see him reading the teleprompter. You really never see him reading anything verbatim. He just gets the the paraphrased versions of the screen bites. He'll listen to what you say and he'll just repeat back and regurgitate. And it's funny, but it's not funny because I had to actually understand that when I had dealt with functionally illiterate kids. It's a perception, man. They seem smart because why? Because they had to compensate. And when I had them reading out loud in class, that's just what I would do. Hey, can you do this? I haven't heard on this person in a while. Can you read these couple sentences? They would literally outright refuse. So I take these as lessons because again, how do we model that for our kids? And for their collapsed society, how do they model that for their kids? Personally, I tell my kids don't do anything that he is doing. If you see what he is doing, do the exact opposite. And I laugh because when my son and I, when we had these discussions, my eldest, he said, "Dad, did you see what he did? Did you see this, and this?" And I would say, like, "Yeah." And what did I tell you? He was like, "Don't do that." And what happened? And he did it. And what happened? And this got messed up, and that got messed up. Yo, you want to know how bad this is? He can't even fix the reflecting pool. My question would always be this: why not just put a ton of shock in that reflection pool? Chlorinate the heck out of that sucker, and then suck it on out or refunnel it to capture all the algae. Because what that shows is it's incompetence. Oh, I know what I'm doing. No, he probably doesn't. He probably has never cleaned a pool in his life. He probably doesn't know how filters work. He probably doesn't know how shock works. He probably doesn't know how, these things are happening. He's probably saying, hey, well, we reduced this, we reduced that. You remember when they reduced the federal budget? All that spending? Well, where do you think that spending comes from? Now you're starting to see where these deficits go. Money was not finite. And it's hilarious when I tell people, I'm like, do you not see the number one su- uh, example here? But here's the thing, Renaya, you're absolutely right. Why not just let the experts do it? Because they fired the experts. If you have information or if you have an opposing viewpoint of what then came from the top, Bando. Bando's got electrolytes. It's what plants crave. It's what algae craves. Excuse me, Mr. President, if we start this war, that's going to reduce oil supplies. In about a year, America will be reduced to ashes. In about less than 12 months, we're probably going to have a civil war. In less than 24 months, it's probably going to be mass starvation and government upheaval. Yeah, okay. I know. All right, all right. Okay. Yeah, but will I be okay? Yes, you will. You'll just have to be in your bunker. Will the bunker be done in time? Probably not, Mr. President, because all the wars and everything else, because nobody's buying our bonds. The money's going to be so devalued, Mr. President, that people will be begging to get $1,000 just for a loaf of bread. But I'll be able to eat, right? I'll be able to eat. Yes, you will, Mr. President. Okay, whatever. All the expert were first were DI hires. That's why they were fired. Exactly. They got rid of all the smart people. Well, gee, I didn't know that was Jerome's job, and we had to downsize and lay Jerome's off. You know, we couldn't fulfill his contract. That was a DEI contract. Can we find a good pool person? And I laugh because now you're all are starting to see how America actually functions. Because generally speaking, by and large, we were the ones that were there in the offices. We were there on in on the ground, in the field, working. We were doing everything, getting things taken care of, because you want to know why? Because we would always have that moniker on us. Well, you know, they're lazy, they're this or that. Are they really doing their job? I have to really watch to make sure. You want to know why? Because that was all that was their doing. That was them. And they had they had to try to deflect their incompetencies on us, their inferiorities on us. That's what that was. And nobody can now argue. Nobody. But I'm going to tell you this, when I lived in my house, man, my pool was always on point. It never looked like that. The only time it looked like that was one time, and that was after a hurricane. And that was only because a fuel pump got messed up and we had to replace the fuel pump with a new Hayward system. I still remember that. That was a pain in the behind, but we got that thing done. And that thing was moving too. Got all the filters cleaned out, got all the algae on out of there, flushed everything out. It took about 3 days, but it was good. Yeah, I remember that. That was in his first administration. Margarita says, remember that they had to bring in Condoleezza Rice after he fired everyone. Yeah, that was the first administration. And that didn't, and I was like too little too late. And they were clowning about that. They're clowning. They're clowning him. Now I'm gonna let's go here because I gotta this goes to the neck of the woods to our UK let's go to here. I'll see about opening up the chat real quick because for our UK correspondents that are in that heat wave. This is from Sky News. Politics latest. Starmer resigns as Prime Minister. Streeting backs Burnham. Sir Keir Starmer says he will resign as Prime Minister as he makes a statement in Downing Street, setting out a timetable for his departure and a Labour leadership contest following or follow the latest. So here's this. Starmer resigns and Streeting backs Burnham. Here's what you need to know. Just tuning in. Here's what you need to know. Keir Starmer has announced his resignation as leader of the Labour Party. And as Prime Minister, Starmer said nominations for a leadership contest would open on 9 July and close by the summer parliamentary recess on 16 July. In the event of a contest, new leaders would be in place by September. Starmer said he accepts in good grace that Labour MPs don't want him to lead them into the next general election and said he will remain in post as Prime Minister until the contest is complete. And Andy Burnham has confirmed he will stand to become Labour leader, saying he will put myself forward. Okay, so let's just have this going. This he backed Trump. I was thinking that too. He's freeing himself for the escape before the destruction. Yeah, I'm thinking that too. Yeah, Jermaine, homie says he's out. I'm done with this. I got my money. I wonder if he was doing some inside trading or, he had somebody. Hey, hook this on up. Word on the street. Word on the street. Then put 250 on it. There you go. Bro, bring my money back. I think to me, and to be honest, he was trying to act like he was popular. And I'd say he was trying to act. Oh, it was this. It wasn't an indictment. It was. Excuse me. Yeah. No, exactly. Enough said. Brother Asas says Starmer is bouncing because the oil crisis and the stuff hits the fan. They got race riots going on right now in the UK. He's just trying to go because, to be quite honest, I'm going to tell you this. Now, when Trump had said what he said about oil, who wants to be in the middle of that one? You kind of have your hands politically tied. I'm just saying. Let me know if I'm missing something on that one. Hey, I'm resigning. I'm getting ready to resign anyway. But boy, oh boy, how can you reconcile that? You really can't. But Trump says we have less than 4 weeks left. Well, they didn't close the Strait of Hormuz because why? Because as soon as they started negotiations, the dude self sabotaged and they closed the strait, hurling insults, hurling threats. They may not make it back to Iran. Are you kidding? We've been given to a foolish nation. We've been given to a foolish people. I'm bringing up my hello, Sister Chantel.
Hello, I'm actually out. Oh my gosh, the weather is it's so amazing. All we're needing is just a beach. It's so nice. But can you guys hear me properly?
Yes, we can. And
Okay,
here's our.
good, brilliant. Uh, what's that? Sorry.
I'm just bringing up our UK correspondent. There we go.
Reporting live. Yeah, it's really nice. It's nice out here. We just need. It would be nice if we had a beach or a pool. You know, like a nice big giant outdoor pool, but whatever. Um, Nobody cares about that man leaving. The country is, oh my gosh, it's it's in turmoil. At the end of the day, for most people who are just living, we're just trying to get on with what we're doing. But people are trying to feel everything, and it's affecting
Are
everything.
you out and about walking, Sister Chantel? Because
Honestly.
you are you are crackling a
I
lot
am,
more
I am.
than normal. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Oh, hold on.
Really
Um,
they're really limiting y'all. That's what happens when you ain't got no oil
Give me
or
a second.
energy. You don't even have enough of the energy bandwidth to get a signal. I'm being dead serious. Look, we're gonna be sounding like Sister Chantel in a minute. You gonna have to
Hold on.
you're gonna have to listen
Let
to
me
me via
focus.
Morse code. Man. Well, you
Let
getting
me.
settled. Yeah, you sound like the robot done took you all out. You don't, yeah, don't get on that SpaceX flight. Don't get on no space. Look, you all right, brother HF. Well, we still have technical difficulties with our one UK correspondent. Let's bring you up on in here, brother HF.
Can you
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh man, the robots done got you. Keir Starmer's leaving. They're putting all UK on blast.
Yeah, this audio is not so fantastic at all.
Oh, you're sounding better today, brother HF. You're sounding a lot better today. So yeah, I don't think here in the US we don't give much credence to the political dynamics of what's happening in
We're
the
in the
UK.
same boat as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, brother HF. And our UK folks, this should
Brother Karis, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you all. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think I'm getting a delay
It's
with
like they're
Brother
trying to cut
HVAC.
us off
Brother
from each
Karis,
other.
can you hear me?
Oh yeah, they're cutting
Brother
things on.
Karis, can you hear me?
No, I can't. See, he has good audio.
Can you hear me, Brother Karis?
So we have good audio, but bad connection. So see, his mic is good, but bad.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, that tells you a lot, then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There is a bad delay here, so it will take me a while. I don't know what's happening with the internet.
Yep. Because again.
But funny enough, I was just going to say, funny enough, when they're broadcasting the, the World Cup, that's fine. Commentators, that's fine.
Yeah, it took quite a few seconds for what I said to come through. What I said was before you made your comment, and then it came through, which shows how bad the delay is over here at the moment.
The West is turning into a third world country day by day. Because I'm being dead serious.
I'm going to come back out and try and come back in.
Yeah, okay. Because when we have these conversations, especially when I have the conversations with folks over on the continent, there's really not a delay. They're on it.
And then they set up their own internet now, though. They've got their own servers.
Yeah, Africa does. A lot of Africa has their own. A lot of their infrastructure, they're trying to build it up.
Yeah.
With their own components. And a lot of their components are done in China.
Well, they've got all the stuff. They can do it themselves.
Yeah, they do. But remember, the software, that's the most important thing. The software, when they load that software on up, they load it up from them Chinese motherboards, not anything that has that Eastern Mediterranean nation firmware that will be, embedded for nefarious activities. Do you see what I'm saying? For lack of better words. I.e., that's what a lot of nations have done, and they're getting better results because you can tell that their infrastructure, it may not resonate right in the domestic spaces, right, with like ground with road work, things of that nature, but they're trying to put in the infrastructure first, so then once you have the infrastructure in-house, then you can start to message. You can't really message if you don't have the infrastructure.
Yeah, you can't build unless you're talking to each other. You can't build unless you're talking to each other.
Absolutely. Even what we're doing here, this is building. People don't understand that this is actually building with one another, reasoning with one another. Look, could you believe that we're doing this? 10, 15 years ago, this would be unheard of.
Yep.
And it's the reason why there are so much problems at the moment, because if did you see the article that I sent to you about Guinea not exporting any more gold to the West anymore?
If that was last night, I'm telling you, I probably didn't get a chance to see it. But
yeah, I sent it to you early this morning.
Yeah,
Guinea has decided not to send out any more unprocessed gold to the West anymore. And you know what that means? They're probably another candidate for the Sahel.
Well, remember, they've been kind of in and out. It's just that the dictator, or not, she's not dictator, the leader there. I'm not going to say dictator, but the leader there. Remember, and the reason that came on up, because again, Guinea, they had a lot of relationships with the French.
Yes.
And that's what was turning a lot of people off. Because even the president's wife was a French Caucasian lady
Yes, she is.
with like ties to speaking of WhatsApp, give me a second. With ties to literally Macron. I think it was like an actual or relative of Macron, if I'm not mistaken. An actual relative.
No, you're not mistaken. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why they were not happy with that. You're not going to get anywhere if you've got, you know.
Yes. And it's not it's not to say that they didn't want to join the Sahel. I'm going to tell you this. All the moves that are now being made on the continent. Remember, it's not what they say, it's what they do. Remember the French person a couple weeks ago said, "Oh yeah, AES isn't even going to be there in a few weeks or something like that." He was trying to fix his mouth to say all that nonsense. They're not going to be here in a few weeks. All that other stuff. Well, it looks like according to Trump, there may not be a Europe in less than 4 weeks.
And I think that's the reason why Keir Starmer's bounced, because if he bounces now, they can't stick any more blame on him. Mm-hmm. And Andy Burnham did quite a lot of good work in Manchester, and he brought up the economy of Manchester. He brought in jobs. He boosted the housing. He did a lot of stuff, but you see that now he's been set up to fail. Because they want to, you know how the system is working. Mm-hmm. Because when this government fails, it will be a right-wing government that comes in, because we have a set of people that are like the people in the deep south now, and they're not so bright. It's like the people in Appalachia and Jacksonville and all those people in Alabama and Mississippi, North Carolina and South Carolina that voted for the orange man to make him president. We have the same MAGA mindset here, and it's permeating from the bottom to the top. And you see, once there's a thing in sociology called the Overton window, mm-hmm. And Trump opened that window, and people are saying what they had inside of them because he let it out. Mm-hmm. And the whole world is following the same example, because whilst we were emerging in the civil rights movement, everybody had to be polite, but they're not suppressing it anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's opened up a whole can of worms.
Well, remember, they had to fake the funk on the continent of Africa. Let's just face it. They had to fake the funk. They had to say, "Oh yeah, we're all this, we're all that. We're bringing in our missionaries. We're the good guys," right? And all the while, they weren't the good guy dolls. They were actually Chuckies. They were just acting like, that they were nice and altruistic and everything else. And what that was doing, it was fooling them. And a lot of it, and that ruse was available. They had it for the last 4 or 5 decades, not knowing what was taking place in the 60s, 70s, 80s, not knowing what was happening even during their neo-colonialization, which was happening. I mean, think about this. They couldn't even, when I was telling this to folks last week, I'm like, when you're part of ECOWAS, the CIFR system, CFRs, which are basically the Franks, the colonial Franks, that's what it is, literally. Their ministers of finance are made to report and stay in Paris. They're an emissary. They're under lock and key. They cannot spend anything. How are you going to develop as a country if you're not even able to access your own funds?
They're being held hostage.
It is being held hostage. It's just diplomatically being held hostage. When they get a new person, you go, all right, your replacement's here, you stay.
Honestly, the wicked of the West, the more you learn, the more you understand, their systems, the more you, like, I don't know, but it's like, for me, it's kind of like, what's the saying? A rose by any other name is still a rose. No matter how much they want to change names and so on and so forth, both of our names and our history and theirs, if you want to know who's who, who's on the playing board and everything, you only need to just watch. Just spend a little time observing their behaviors. And you'll be able to see. This is why I keep saying it's like watching Mean Girls. Like, I don't watch politics. When people start saying, "Oh, I'm into politics," I'm like, right. It's not. It's nothing different from just watching a bunch of girls or women just cackling at each other and being quite, excuse me, but bitchy. Because that's what this is. Oh, you're friends with her? Oh, you're not. You're my enemy. Oh, you're gonna. And everybody has been catering to the meanest. I want to say the B word, but I won't. The meanest one on the block, and it's like, and the thing is, they're all afraid of her, and none of them liked her. They all knew that she was bad news, but they pandered to her. But it's like with the whole thing with this, what's going on with the Asians and everything. Yeah, it's kind of like you're not even trying to change. You're being just like her. You're being just like her. You're building yourself up to be her replacement.
Yeah. And that's not a good thing, especially when you have a continent that's now even more empowered. Like, I don't think people understand when you have these type of conferences over in the continent, the next steps. Oh, don't get it twisted. They're about to deliver some legislation, or excuse me, some I would say diplomatic actions, but I look at it like this. They're going to deliver it. There's timing to this. So in my opinion, they're going to deliver their statement. They already had a statement, but there's going to be some other actions. And those other actions are going to be based off of what the United States does. That to me is going to be the how things precipitate. Because again, in all of these the what is it? It's bread and circus. We're now here. Today's the 22nd. We're in about a 2 to 3 week window now of the ruling of the Supreme Court for birthright citizenship. And here it is. Can you all have imagined that they would have been talking about reparations? And as we were discussing this, we discussed this about 2 years ago on this channel at this same time when Brother Garth and I had come back. We were discussing this. We were talking about Balanta.org. We were talking about Sifaway Balaka. Shout out to Brother Sifaway on out there.
Another important aspect is that the discussions that we've been having and the diaspora's been having, it's broken the cultural hegemony of the West, because the institutions through which they maintain their thought, through the church, universities, and other organizations and through the financial systems is broken and in disarray. It's the same thing that happened when slavery was being abolished. Nobody wanted to discuss the concept or idea of slavery ever being abolished and us ever being free. But once the discussions started and we started to identify ourselves collectively as a people that needed to be free and started to resist slavery both politically and physically, then they had to free it. They had no option but to give us a modicum of freedom, because we are not free in the lands where we are being held captives. We are still prisoners of war. So if you let a lion out of a cage and then put him in an enclosure, that lion is still in an enclosure, and we are still in that enclosure, and we want to be able to leave.
But remember, we's just free. We's free. And that's what they're trying to say. No, no, we're not. We're still multi-generational prisoners. We're
Yeah, they gave us the
multi-generational
illusion of freedom.
prisoners.
They believe that just giving us our freedom is reparations. How wicked is that? I heard
You see, it's not
one
really
white woman
freedom
say
because
that.
it's freedom with limitations. You're limited with the kind of jobs you can get. You're limited with the kind of housing you can get. You're limited with the kind of healthcare that you get. What you get from the system, even over here, Sister Chantel, when it comes to the healthcare, when it comes to housing, when it comes to education, is determinant on what you have as a person.
Mm.
Yeah, well,
I,
what is it? Black jobs over here, right? And I mean, and he said that. And I think people are like, well, what does he really mean? That's pretty demeaning. No, they know exactly what he
Abominable answer.
Yeah, they know
He's saying
exactly what
exactly what he thinks.
Yeah.
That there's certain jobs for blacks. It's the same over here as well.
Mhm.
If you
Yes.
have if you have a doctorate degree, Karis, in America, and you have a doctorate degree here, they still look at you as the N word, and they will still think, even if they haven't got a bachelor's degree, that they're more intelligent and better read than you are, and that their color gives them status over us, which is something that they've had from 1618 or 1619 when they started this war against us up to present. And
The fact that they believe that, Uncle, is exactly why they're a bit thick.
yeah, of course they're a bit thick. And the thing is that whether they want to or not, since the discussion on reparations has started here and on the continent, they will have no option but to free us, because we will implement and the continent will implement mechanisms that force them to do it. But they don't realize that we can force them to do it without firing a bullet. It's not going to be political alone, it's going to be economic. And once the economic picture comes in it and the resources picture comes into it, as pointed out by Dr. Copeland, and the currency comes into it, which was a brilliant thing that Dr. Copeland did when he wrote his book on BRICS. It's only very few people, a handful of people ever thought about that, including myself. And I had to go and quote from Dr. Karas's book in one of the books that I wrote. I had to go and revise it because of how that book pointed out the complexities and intricacies of how the current currency is going to work in the future.
And don't we see it playing out? I mean, these are a lot of the conversations that I have in the background. These are the conversations. And I tell people, I'm like, hey, thank you for supporting this. Look, I'm not paid. I'm not paid. I pray that I get something. I look, brother, I'm a teacher for now until the Most High calls me to do bigger and better things. And even when he calls me to do bigger and better things, yeah, guess what? I'm going to be dedicating the 2 to 3 hours a day, just like I've been doing, to reach on out to the Most High's people. But at the and my voice, please pray for me because my voice was a little parched this morning. I was debating that. It's dry on out here. When we dry, you see like we get that Saharan dust. It's crazy. It's like real dusty ish.
But it's gonna be real dry heat. Like have you ever been to Bolagatanga in Ghana?
No, there
But
was only a couple places that
it's like, well, you've been to the Sahara Desert anyway, and the
Mhm.
borders of the Sahara Desert. We're gonna have Sahara Desert heat here on Wednesday and Thursday.
Oh, it's radiating that much up there. Wow, that's
Yeah,
bad.
it's getting really hot. I've got a tan. I'm actually brownish.
All what's
Oh,
going to happen to our sister Chantel is that we're going to get the melanin is just going to switch on, isn't it?
It is, man. I'm
yeah.
just, I can see the tan lines, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm in
actually
I'm in
looking a lot browner.
I'm in Florida, so we just get sun no matter what. And sun with no rain, that's called desert. so so yeah, it's
It, it
kind of
wasn't it wasn't that hot last year, and it unalived 10,000 of those Gentiles, and I wonder how many of them will be unalived across Europe because this is a Europe-wide thing.
oh yeah, that's gonna be a lot.
It's giving. I think even Jacoba
Well,
mentioned it last
well,
week. What was it? Revelation 16.
Yeah,
before
if
I let
if
you
you
go,
look at
Chantel, before
if
I
you look
before I
at the map, it's got
go,
that deep dark red
hmm
uh, haze over the European continent and the southern part of the UK. Have you noticed that? Where all the money is.
Mm-hmm.
Minister Rick says you won't be sun poisoned.
That's why the Labour Party has been spending all the millions on doing studies to block out the sun.
Well, also let me ask you this. That's also going to increase cost with AC, air conditioning and cooling and all this other stuff. Um, that's a lot for people. I don't think that may not understand that that's something that's very much not common in a lot of the European countries.
No,
Because
we don't do. It's not really cost effective for us. It's like buying what's it, the snow thingamajiggies. It's not really cost effective because it's not. We have the sun, but it's not like a long stretch of time, you know.
yeah,
So, but when we do get it, it's hot and it's humid. You
hmm
know,
Well,
there's
you
been
don't
some
need a
Americans that have been complaining about it, that have been over here, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we didn't realize it's hot. How hot it gets in the UK."
hmm
Except for if you're up in Manchester, it's like
yeah. It'd be
still the
like
same.
microwaving porridge on those 2 days.
Yeah.
Well, that's because y'all are like the definition of brick city in terms of all that asphalt and bricks and everything else. I'm like,
Gosh, you have no idea.
yeah,
I
I'm like
literally just came from a place, Croydon. They literally call Croydon, what's it? Yeah, Brick City. And oh my gosh, it was so humid. It was hot. It was horrible. And then you got the funky smell of the meat with the south
mm,
eastern people. I won't say who, but they've got their funky meat out, and it's like,
yeah, they let that naturally cure. Oh boy.
it's just horrible. Like the beef just cooking and just going brown in the, yeah, exactly, Garth. Ew, it's disgusting. It's, oh my gosh, it's so funky. Like I don't know how people could just take that and not wash it. Like after it's ugh. Salt, lemon, and vinegar and everything. Just throw everything at it, man. Even nuke the chicken, because yuck, the smell.
Oh,
Yeah, we
Yeah,
do have green space. We
it's those
do.
kind
We
of
have lots
foods
of
that are
parks.
killing you. We got the same problem in Dalston where I am as well. You know where that is, sister?
God.
I don't live far from Dalston, 45 minutes on the bus.
Oh yeah,
Um, um,
you're up in Dalston.
no, I'm in Clapton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I live right beside the nature reserve in Clapton, and it's got loads of trees, but it's still going to be hot.
Mm. And then you've got, I suffer with hay fever. Although my hay fever
Yeah.
hasn't really been so bad for the last, actually since 2020, it's kind of diminished, but like I was on the bus and I could feel the itch in the corner of my eye.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Oh,
in
yeah.
those end stuff.
Oh yeah. That is something that's happening here, especially in the southeast, and I would say in the Caribbean, because it's kind of dry out. It's unseasonably dry. It's weird. Even though Texas had a ton of water, you had a ton of water in some other places from tropical storm, or excuse me, tropical depression Arthur. Um, yeah, it has not, like on this where I'm at in Florida, it has not been it hasn't been, it's been dry, and we get the Sahara dust. That's what's been blowing through, is the Saharan dust. And that's, to me it wouldn't be that bad, but man, when I I have to just drink water like every 15 minutes to keep my throat dry, because, or excuse me, palatable, the wet, because if not, it is really, that dust is really coming on out strong. And and again, yeah, so they have sun poisoning and things of that nature, because you have to remember, over there in the UK, they're walking a lot. They have transportation systems much more
Yeah,
so than what we would have, right?
we're kind of lucky in that sense, I suppose. We complain about, oh my gosh, we're having to wait an extra 5 minutes for the bus. But I just wanted to say something quick because I know Brother Fastnick's been waiting. But
Yeah,
has
yeah, yeah.
anybody heard about what's that? I think I don't know if it's like a trend, but people, I've noticed it's in your neck of the woods. People have been eating raw meat, like raw meat from the packet. Walking, I even saw a brother doing it. Like, I'm like, is this the beginning of the zombie apocalypse? And I'm not even
Probably.
being funny.
No,
But I'm not,
probably.
like, you laugh, but we already know that
That
things are
is
going to be
sick.
getting really strange. Literally
Mm.
coming out of the shop, out of the store, opening the packet. Like, how do you do that? That chicken, it stinks, man. Like, you ain't clean that, and you're just eating it, not cooked, not even throwing on a herb or a bit of seasoning. You're just eating it raw, tearing into it. Oh, you've been seeing it as well? Yeah. It's disgusting.
Mm.
I pray up and I say, Father, keep your people from this madness. When I see a couple of our people doing that, I just,
Tastes better not cooked. I like it.
it's,
Mm.
it's disgusting.
Reminds
I can
reminds me
see
back
them reverting back,
reminds
but
me back
no.
in the '90s. Back in the day, in the '90s, with ODB. Oh baby, I like it raw. I like my food raw. Don't cook it. I like it raw. Oh my goodness, that is gross. All right, brother Fast Nickel, let's swing this on over into finance. What's our financials? What are we looking like? Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
How poor is the U.S. getting
Shalom,
now?
brother
Shalom,
Pastor.
Todd.
Yeah, when our UK correspondents came on, their connection was really bad, but it's gotten better.
It has. I've had to pray in the background. Said, Father, Yah, help them in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. We need to make
I'm in
sure.
my house now, so I'm on my Wi-Fi. So before I was using my phone's internet, and I was on the bus. No, actually, no, I was walking, so I wasn't on the bus. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm on my tablet now. The phone wasn't working at all indoors.
Well,
mm,
one thing I just wanted to remind everyone, just because, especially the crypto market, just because the crypto market has been horrible and we haven't really heard anything, everyone has to remember they're making all these moves in the background. And so this is something that just happened over the weekend, that Wyoming, they officially launched their own stable coin. So they put about $1 million into, because a stable coin is 1-to-1 with the dollar. So you can get their stable coin on the Kraken exchange. It's called FRNT. I'm not telling anybody to buy it because you don't necessarily need it, but I'm just here sharing how this is just the first domino of states having their own crypto stable coins.
The first footstep to seceding.
Mm-hmm. That's what it is. To me, that's what it looks like, and I'm wondering, because I know brother Fast Nickel and I, we had this conversation in the background, because remember New Hampshire had stated that if the national debt goes above 40 trillion, it's an automatic vote on succession. It's automatic. That is in their state constitution. It was in their state constitution since, I think, 2023, 2024 timeframe. So now what it is now the states don't even trust the other states.
Well, it kind of flows with prophecy of what happened to us before we were taken, or before we fled out of our city. Before the Romans, we had separated it, and you had the separation from going all the way back after Solomon. So it's like you can see that this is something that they're now starting to go through. There's not going to be no United States. There's going to be nothing but division, and it's not just going to be limited to your space. We're going to see the same kind of thing happening over here, because these people really do not know how. There's no sense of togetherness. They're not like that. The only thing that that brings them together is their hatred of everybody, but specifically us. So it's like we're not really surprised by this. We shouldn't be. So yeah, I say hallelujah, praise Yahuwah. This is all these curses that were on you are going to be on those that hate you, and it's not limited to just them. Those that hate you and persecute you. That's everybody that's pretty much not us, or specific. That's everybody that's not heavily melanated, but specifically not us, right? Everybody hates us, and we're seeing that. We're seeing that globally. Everybody hates us. So, and I agree. I said the same thing Jacoba said as well. It's getting to the point where we are going to be like, yeah, we're not dealing with anybody. Like I said, when we go back home, it's literally, I'm not dealing with you. Just Wakanda, Africa, and her surrounding satellites. That's it. And let the world keep the world, and they can do whatever they want. Hopefully they'll just fizzle out and just, like we go outside, and then it's kind of like it's kind of like Noah when he came off the boat and everybody was gone. That would be great.
Well, I think I'm getting an echo. That's on your end. Yes. It's on your Sister Shanta. There we go. Okay, so I always look at it. Why a stable coin? Why now? When we're looking at all the things culminating, and I want to bring back up the site, because right here it says the 45-day public notice and comment period for amended reserves management and token management rules is open from today, Monday 29th, 2026 through July 13th, 2026. And I say they know the time frame, because here's the thing. I always look at it like this. They are able to control and they stabilize liquidity. Liquidity is really the velocity of money, how money is being spent, how quickly money is being spent. And we're not talking about just regular commercial transactions, with the modern or the everyday consumer, right? I'm actually talking about large wealth transactions through secondary banking and things of that nature. Because remember, this is again these private investors, they can't even get access to all their money. They can only get access to a percentage of their money at a time. That's not good.
So it's like it's the same thing that they were doing to you guys with the you can't take out more than $600. They're doing that to them.
Well, basically, yeah. Yeah, they're so they can only take out. Ooh, I'm echoing bad on your back.
So the first article that we saw was a year ago. They were talking about how this is what Wyoming was going to do. This is from the Wyoming government website because they just launched it on Saturday. And so if you, Brother Karras, if you scroll down a little more. Right there. So you'll see they've allocated $965,000 and 100% of it is collateralized. So what that means is 100% of this coin that's available is back. They have the money to back it. So there's no worry about, am I going to get rug pulled or anything like that? This is from the government. So, and if you look at that other article, the whole reason they did it is because of the debt that the government is in, not the debt of Wyoming, but the 36 trillion that the U.S. is in debt. And you're going to see more and more countries, because as you pointed out on Friday, gosh, I can't remember now the little country we were talking about that said if we go to 39 trillion that they're succeeding.
New Hampshire. It's state. Not a country yet. Not a country yet, man. That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, the state. These states like Texas, they see the writing on the wall. They know it.
So it seems like what they're trying to do is they're opening this up, but they're trying to really get other financial investors from other countries to start in individual state investing, i.e., they're seeing they're looking at the financial collapse and they're trying to mitigate that. When I tell you, these folks know that they don't have much time. And when I say don't look at what they say, look at what they do. These are the actions of what they do.
Exactly.
So all of a sudden, right now, they want to start putting out all these coins. Well, the question is why? Why are they doing that? Because they know that number one, they may not get money from the federal government in their budgets because their budgets are really messed up. And as their budgets have been messed up, when people talk about, oh, these wars and this and that, well, they've asked for now $1.5 trillion. I believe that $1.5 trillion did get funded. I believe that was the case. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. So that's why I said I believe. The thought process is this. The money can't just come from it. It's not going to be printed out of thin air. This is why the T-bills, the treasury bills, all this other good stuff that they're trying to create, that generally speaking, people buy the debt because the debt is fiat. They're just buying the dream. They're buying the the security plan of America. Because if you're holding American dollars, then guess what? That means that we have to rescue, i.e., America would have to rescue you and to have stability, so you would be a stable enough country deemed worthy enough in America's eyes to hold the money. That's not the case anymore. And when you see Trump blustering and do all these crazy things, talking to the Iranian delegation like he ain't got no sense. They closed the Strait of Hormuz. They're winning. They're beating you all. They're winning. Oh, well, they may not make it if they don't do it. They may not make it home. Like, do you understand that talk? That's craziness. But you also have to understand he wasn't talking to the Iranians. You know who he was talking to? He was talking to white folks. So what they do in the background, they do this. And I guarantee you, if you ever look at if you could do OMB or the Congressional Budget Committee, if you were to do an audit of those discretionary funds, I believe that every single time, this is just my opinion, every single time Trump says something crazy, Trump says something ridiculous, and they do quote, and the Iranians, they walk away, they quote unquote walk away. I believe that every single time he does that, they're probably having to pay Iran billions just to have them talk. Billions just to have them show up. No, you can't take a photo out with us. We're leaving. Hey, come back, come back. We need. That's going to be $5 billion. Oh, and it's going to get higher if you want to keep running your mouth. Y'all have to understand how diplomacy works. These diplomatic detentes. These diplomatic detentes aren't, for the sake of, oh, it's world peace. No, Iran is getting paid. Don't get it twisted. Iran is making money. Don't get it twisted. The folks in the background, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Kuwait. We got money for you. Why do you think they were trying to talk about that fund? And if the fund isn't backed, then the United States is backing the fund. Basically, the United States is guarantor. The United States is paying the $300 billion. But when they're doing that, they're going to try to lean hard and shake down on all the the Arab folks on out there. We didn't start this war. No, you didn't, but you have our troops there. So if you want our troops there, if you don't want them to withdraw, then you're going to be paying the sovereign fund or that wealth fund.
They have to pay, because if they don't pay, then the US can come in and just take the oil from them.
Yes,
they haven't got the power to resist militarily.
No, but again, do you think that they do anything militarily? It's not going to be a military. It'll be a nice orchestrated coup that the U.S. will say, well, we weren't happy about the coup, but it looks as though they're friendly towards the United States. So we're willing to do business. Do you all see what's happening?
It'll be another Syrian job.
Yeah.
The person will just take off the traditional clothes and put on a suit with a red tie.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hey, don't worry about me. I'm not a terrorist now. I'm a good guy now. Oh, that just means I work for the government this time, you know, legitimately now. However they want to say it.
You know, there's a reason. One of the reasons I think that Iran has an affinity for black people is they, to a certain degree, they've kind of been handled in the same manner as you guys have been by your government. Like the war on drugs, same kind of violence that they had with the war on terror, the whole of that region, really. So it's like, I think with Iran, sorry, I know this is a bit, thing, but I was just thinking about it. It's kind of showing how these people really can't be trusted. And I feel like as if a lot of these nations are now, it's weird because it's like now they're starting to see more on the world with regarding the World Cup as well. They're being put on blast. And it's
Mhm.
like for a lot of people it's kind of like this is supposed to be the one sport. I know, like for those like yourself, where you do follow the sport, but for the vast majority of Americans, it's like I mean no disrespect, but it is like you guys are kind of bubbled. There's a lot of people going back and forth about the Super Bowl versus the World Cup, and I think a lot of Americans are starting to realize, oh, this is actually quite big. You're dealing.
Mhm.
One person put it quite brilliantly. Actually, they said it's like all these countries going to war without weapons, and it really is. It's kind of like you're coming. It's supposed to be something that brings nations together. That people celebrate. Okay, so we're doing this and we're doing that, and it's for the love of the game.
Mhm.
And because of that, because of the way that America, or I want to say America, I'll say the administration is creating a situation that is so difficult for not just for Iran but for other nations as well. Like we know that they're carrying on silly with Senegal, and I can't remember the other nation as well. But it's just, and then also like the referee as well from Somalia,
Yeah.
and it's getting to the point where people are starting to look, and even now the Europeans. I mean, the Europeans are they know what they're like anyway, you know. But even they're like, oh no, this is a bit much. Come on,
Mhm.
it's football. Can we just have this 1 month of this, and then we can go back to hating each other or whatever. But it's like everybody is now starting to see exactly what America is like.
Mhm.
And I think Iran is kind of like Iran's kind of like a magnifying glass as to how America has been treating you guys, if you get me. Like it, it's, and I don't even want to say that really because it's like you'd have to be a complete idiot to not know how America's treated you.
Well,
I'm
I
talking
think they,
regarding other nations, that is.
yeah, I think,
Sorry, what
but
was that?
you got to remember that, so people say, well, this is the greatest, propaganda campaign in U.S. history, and I would say yes. The Trump administration is running the greatest propaganda campaign in U.S. history to destroy the image of the U.S.
Mm.
To destroy it, not to build it up. It's the destruction of the U.S.'s image. And when they try to boast and tout, actually what they're doing is they're making themselves look crazy. How embarrassing is that? Is that you have the pool at the National Mall, the reflection pool.
It's not reflecting anymore.
Yeah, it's reflecting green algae.
I was gonna say, ew, green stuff, yuck.
Hmm. Now they can utilize that algae.
What about the flag? That's the paint is ripping in half already.
Yeah, that was that. I think that was the part of the pool. They tried to like redo the pool, make it a lot bigger, and you know, it was not holding up because you got to remember, look, just the way that Trump always does things, the dude always tries to cut corners because there's always graft and you know corruption.
Mm.
Just basically speaking, that's how he's done business in the past, and I would imagine even with him being in the presidency, not much has changed. Just saying.
Well,
So
they only
people
know
got
how to do how they know what to do, and that's it.
exactly. So everybody was gonna, get the come up, and what did they said they found some they actually had a person that did not specialize in doing any of it because he was like, oh, we got a great person, great guy, and he couldn't do it. And now you start to see that as long as you're able to sweet talk him like, oh yeah, I'm this and that, and you have that blustering personality that he that he gravitates to, well, guess what? That means that any idiot can go ahead and be like, I'm this and that, and oh, that's what I like.
Mm.
What is his credentials? Ah, who cares? She'll get the job done. I can feel it. And then when the job doesn't get done, then they get mad, and then that dude walks away with how much, millions of dollars because he knew he wasn't going to get paid the full amount in the first place. So he's just going to do a substandard job. This is the makings. That's the hallmarks of a third world country. That's the hallmarks of a country in decline.
Being run by a dictator.
What? Well, the next thing to look for. First, it was the pool. Next, when you see that the Kennedy National Flame is out, it's
Yeah.
over.
It's over. Yeah, the eternal flame. What happened to the eternal flame? We ran out of gas. We told you it was going to be 4 weeks. You only got 4 weeks to see the flame, man. By August 1st, you it ain't going to be
The
a flame.
eternal flame.
It's going to be a little cigarette lighter.
Yeah, the
It's gonna
eternal
be-
flame.
It
Give me
kind
all
of
the-
represents. It kind of, to me, it kind of represents their what do you call it again? Oh God, I'm so sorry. I really am getting a bit,
Well, the eternal flame, because it's linked to Kennedy, and the Kennedys were always thought of as Camelot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and what's the link to Camelot? They were known as the dragons, and the eternal flame is kind of like, it's kind of giving the principality. That's what I was going to say, and it's like the principalities left you. That's why it's like you kill off the main wolf. What happens to the pack?
Mm.
They're mindless.
Well, but they and then they start to perish off, right? Because there's no leadership, and that's what I've been, and I've
You
said
cut
that
off the head.
I've equated this. When we talk about principalities and things of that nature, these principalities are warring. Don't think that Iran doesn't have its own principality. They all have their own regional principalities.
So do we.
Yeah.
It's Michael.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a ruling angel over.
Well, when you think about Iran, there's two things to remember about Iran. They go after Iran for two reasons. The first one is because they won't install a Rothschild central bank. That's
Mm-hmm.
number one. Number two is because they knew we were the people before we knew we were the people.
Yeah, that one too. That one.
And that's why they constantly go after Israel, because they know that they're usurpers.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not just they know that they're usurpers.
It's more than that.
They also know that historically they're there in the region. They already know what that's going to look like with Khazaria 2.0. I mean, Yakoba had that on, a while ago.
Right.
But they understand that that's the truth. I look at it like this. Their grandiose plan, if you actually understand their grandiose plan, it's not necessarily a Pax Judaica in their plan. It's actually, believe it or not, it's actually a zone of control. It is the the Alexandrian Empire. In my opinion, it's the Alexandrian Empire that they're trying to bring back up. Because remember, the Alexandrian Empire, that was the first, I would say, European subduing of who? Of the Most High's people.
Successfully, because remember
Yeah.
we were talking about this. They've been trying since Abraham's day.
Since Abraham's day with what? Title, right?
Mm.
That's what they've been trying, right? But they were successfully able to do that with Alexander, and that's what they're trying to model. Again, when I tell people, I'm like, all those places, how do you divorce that reality that the history, from all these channels that do history, the Seleucid Empire, the all of these different empires under the Ptolemaics, things of that nature, they're all Greek. And then the Ptolemaics, they did what? They came down south. They came down the Nile. They didn't go up the Nile. They didn't go to the Mediterranean. Oh, they're right on the Mediterranean. No. We were in the heart of Africa. We were right there. Abyssinia. We were right there. Ethiopia. We were right there. From across the rivers of Kush. Oh boy. Those were those interior rivers. Everywhere else was under the Greek run empire. It was just that whenever you have, again, and as Daniel had stated, those counterfeit empires, each counterfeit empire got weaker. So when it came to Greece, from Babylon, from Sumeria, it was a little weaker.
You're talking about the Greeks when they were under Alexander, correct?
Yes, they were still a little weaker. They were still strong, but they were still a little weaker. Rome, it was still a little weaker. And then all the way back down to here, physically, it's weakened. It's weakened physically. But what makes them so strong? Spiritually, they're strong. That was their stronghold.
Are you talking about the four great empires?
Yeah, I'm talking about this final empire. It was strong in the spiritual sense. Because why? Because everybody was tied up on the doctrine of Romanology.
Mm.
And then when we said, no, we're waking up, we're the people. We're here in captivity, and we started to map out and explain everything. Now all of a sudden, they're doing backflips, trying to figure things on out. Well, we're churches taking responsibility. You got the echo. The church is taking responsibility. Yeah, we did this, we did that. Why is that? Because again, they know the time frame. We don't, but we have a pretty good estimation. And really the reason why we don't know the time frame is really because it's the Most High's wisdom. Because imagine us knowing the time frame. You know that we would be doing some ignorant stuff. Man, it don't matter. I'm on out of here by this date. Bet. And all I gotta do is make it to you know how people would be.
That's funny.
It's the truth. Look, we know
it is the truth.
Man, I gotta do nothing. Y'all know, you already know. You gotta release me by this day, this time, this hour, and I want to have this, and you better pack me that. We would have our list of demands.
Yep.
If you don't try it, look, you already know what time it is. Do all your little preps that you want to do. You best to have me. You best to have me my T-bone steaks real. We would say all
with
sorts
the
of crazy.
gangster on them.
Yeah. You better have me my Rolex on it. Like, where are my Gucci slippers? Like, oh man. It would be real crazy. Other than the fact of concentrating on the Most High and His deliverance, we would be concentrating on stupid stuff.
True. You know, earlier, about an hour ago, you were talking about reparations, and I just want to say this. So yesterday, I was watching something on YouTube talking about the bust of Nefertiti, and so that bust was dug up around 1923 by a German archaeologist. So Egypt to this day is still fighting with Germany to get that bust back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the whole reparations deal that we've been talking about.
Oh yeah, they have that. They have gold. They have silver. They have a lot of things that they fashion. And remember, they would say that they would be throwing out what the gold and the silver. I don't think it's the wealth that would be fungible like that. You know, as people would be like, oh, it's like, you know, somebody having or gold bars and stuff like that. No, I really believe that what it will be is the different statues, busts, yeah, you're right, artifacts and things of that nature, the artwork that had been crafted and shaped out of gold and silver, out of the precious stones and things of that nature. That to me is what I think is happening right now. And it won't, and you know, we were thinking down to like the level of just regular people, you and I. This may be at governmental levels. Take this here, because maybe if you take your stuff back, maybe these curses will come off of our people. Maybe these curses will leave us alone. And and when I was talking about that, you know, when Germany was saying that they have a catalog of all the things and this and that, it wasn't just Germany. That was also the Dutch. It was the Netherlands. And you also have to remember they're the first ones that's basically ceding power. Okay, well, we know we're going to have to pay, so let's just make our first installment. Is that something within their national financial schedule? Do they take out loans against these artifacts? The answer is probably not. So for them, that may be a little easier to swallow or to handle when it comes to, you know, reparations. But again, it's not just going to be at that level. Now, are they going to be paying? Absolutely, they're going to be paying. How will they be paying? In my opinion, probably through technology transfer, knowledge and technology transfer. Well, we need to make this, we need to make that, we need to manufacture this, we need to have that. We need our blueprints, because generally speaking, most of the knowledge that they've had, they stole from us. So, okay. Oh, you got that in the patent office? Okay, who actually created it? Oh, well, the person that created it, well, they're no longer breathing. A lot of the reparative justice is to leave alone our inventors. Our one brother from out of Nigeria or Zimbabwe, one of them, that had created the electric helicopter from free electrons. What? We don't have to worry about running on carbon? That's a big one. It's not the fact that we can't live in a very well off, well established society. It's the fact that we've allowed wickedness to permeate, and that wickedness has brought us to where we're at right now. So imagine not having to deal with wickedness. Imagine our witty ideas and inventions being given to us by the Most High to do what? To increase us, not to diminish, right? They have been given their ideas and inventions for death and destruction. They choose death and destruction. That's literally what the word says. The Most High is about life, abundance, life, not through having to delete people. Resource management isn't just, okay, I'm going to manage your resources after I delete you. That's not it. That was never it. The Most High has already given this earth, this plane, an abundance of resources. So much so we haven't even cracked like 1% of 1% worldwide. So I don't know about you all, but as this system is basically fizzing on out because people can see it, I don't know. I'm a little excited to see how the Most High continues to move. I'm not a little excited. I'm very excited. Because here's the thing. We can talk. And what they're mad about is this. They're mad that we're talking. And they're mad that we are able to see and articulate what's happening. I don't know how close things are. I don't know. Because the way things are going, look, the U.S. could try to have a ground invasion by the end of this week. Because when you still hear the crazy nonsense of, well, they need to roll over and they need to do this, they need to do that, or else the Strait of Hormuz is going to be ours. They can't get it. That's why I always try to explain this. I said everything that they do in these negotiations are going to fail because you can't negotiate with crazy people. And a lot of them, they're going to learn that lesson the hard way. Every time you've been in a negotiation, they do something. So why do you think anything's going to be different? He's already told people, hey, if you don't do this, then you may not be going home. What does that mean?
We've also seen that they're false negotiations.
Yeah. Yeah, what were they trying to say? They were trying to say, well, the reason Trump was talking like that, it was because it was Hamas, or was it Hezbollah or something like that was doing something. And Hezbollah was like, we weren't doing anything unless we were countering an action being taken against us. And Israel was already saying, that Eastern Mediterranean nation was already saying that they weren't going to adhere to any ceasefire. So what? So you're going to blame a people because you have somebody else that's not doing? That's definition of white supremacy 101. Can anybody say, you know, the Metcalfs over in Texas? Just saying, with all their
Well, they've
evidence.
openly said that they're going to attack Egypt and Turkey. So what do
Mhm.
you expect?
Yeah,
This thing ain't going to stop.
yeah, it's not gonna it's not gonna stop. But that's now why everybody is seeing. See, when people see who they are and they see the tactics, remember their tactics has always been, we're the good guys here. It's not our fault. It's your fault. Everything that we're doing, we're righteous, and because we're righteous, right? They would play that to a fault, and then they play it so successfully that it was starting to make us look crazy. Well, maybe it's me. Is it me? Maybe I'm the. Am I the bad guy here? Right? Am I the one? Maybe I'm the one that, you start to second guess and challenge yourself. But now we're like, no, it's not. It's not us. It's never been us. It's always been you all from day one. It's always been you all since 1619, since Point Comfort in Hampton, Virginia, since our ancestors got off the boats. It wasn't us. Now we're in a generation we can articulate that, and they're mad because it's not just we can articulate it. Guess what? Now they are articulating things, and now you're starting to see these Gentile young adults, young men, young women, and they're upset because they see everything that we've been talking about. And now they're upset because not only do they see everything that we've been talking about, they're now understanding the consequences of what's happening. Hey, you all are creating a consequence. You all are doing this. Nobody's doing that anymore. Can we all come along? Can we all get together? No. No. The first time we're actually choosing us. We're choosing ourselves. We're choosing our people. Because that's all we got. This is all we have. All the other nations, they don't care about us. Oh boy, isn't that Jeremiah chapters 30 through 33? And they said that. Okay, what are you going to do with that? Well, we'll survive here way more than they'll survive. We listen, with this whole boycott thing, all that's going to do is show the ingenuity that our people have always had. And I'm glad. I'm glad that our people are actually able to see the ingenuity. I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
doing, but Father help me. And guess what will happen? And guess what will happen? Then we'll figure it on out. And then as we figure it on out, then we show people how it's done. Then when we show people how it's done, and then guess what? This model starts to take off. You know what? You know the crazy thing is they were so afraid and upset. They're even talking about this. I couldn't believe. Well, I could believe it, but I'm like, dang. The same tactics. They said they were gonna. They said this, and this is purported. So I'm not sure. This was purported. But there was threats to burn down black businesses.
I saw that as well.
Come on now. All they're learning to do is everything from their colonizers. Don't get it twisted. These,
Exactly.
these are just people that were able enough to get the immigration lottery to mainland colonization. They were colonized.
When you see them doing the clan stuff, you know that things that they consider themselves to be Yankee Tango.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, when you think about this country, I mean, I'm just talking about from what I know, New York and New Jersey, and even down here in Florida. When you look at the Chinese restaurants, they're usually in ghettos. So why would you alienate your biggest supporter? Because the only other Chinese restaurant per se, if you want to call it, I look at it the corporate view, is Panda Express. Like you'll find a Panda Express in a strip mall, but when it comes to Chinese restaurants, they're usually in urban
the hood. Yeah.
I asked that same question. It made no sense to me. For people that's supposed to claim that they're so smart, it made no sense to me. And the funny thing is, remember a few months ago, they started crying out because those people were starting to create, open up businesses selling their food, their drinks, and telling them that, and kind of like pushing them to the side and saying, yeah, you can sit in this part of the restaurant whilst they sell their food. They're cooking their food and selling their food. But they want to ally themselves with them. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like they're and all I'm gonna say is they're gonna learn this the hard way. It's gonna be a hard lesson. And don't get that thing twisted. Look, at least the Latinos are like, nah, we had some of that last year. Look, you know what I'm saying? Like the Latinos will be like, nah, we had some of that. And you gotta remember it, within the Latino community, you have Afro Latinos. You see what I'm saying? So that's not it doesn't bode very well. It doesn't bode very well. And again, no, for black folks, look, you give us a cause, especially here, especially at this time. Nah, we're good. We're good. Look, we're just going to show you how we continue to protest indoors. We are going to be the greatest indoor protesting generation. We are the greatest. Ezekiel, let me put that scripture on up here. Let me get that scripture on up here.
I gotta say, when I saw that man make that video, that Asian man make that video, a challenge, I was like, are you stupid? I'm not even joking. I laughed hard. I thought that was the funniest thing. I'm like, you really don't know black people, do you? The one thing we are is very competitive. Don't put a challenge in front of us. We will answer the call and we will best you. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, exactly. We absolutely will. I'm trying to get that scripture. I think it's Isaiah 26, right? Isaiah 26. Shut up the doors.
I know all of you have seen Do the Right Thing. Do you remember when they killed Radio Raheem and then the riots broke out? What did the Chinese restaurant do? They put up the sign saying, I'm black too.
Yeah, I'm black. I'm black. but you know, the thing is that, look, when people are talking about, oh, what's, they have the problems and it's this, like, no, we don't. No, we don't. That's not us. Traditionally, what we do is we're just trying to live in peace. We're trying to work because, hallelujah, we found work. We have a good job. For those that are able to work, we're not here doing anything crazy. We just want our young men and young women to make it home. We want our sons and daughters to make it home. I know somebody has it. So what's the scripture again? Shut up door, the indignation, to let the time of indignation pass. I believe it was Ezekiel 26, if I wasn't mistaken. But I'm trying to skim through that. Minister Rick, shalom.
Yes, how are you this morning? I my my fingers were cramping. I was texting so much, but I just want to quote a scripture,
Hmm.
Deuteronomy 28:43. The stranger that
Yes.
is within thee shall get up very high, and thou shalt come
Yes.
down very low. And I think it
Hmm.
goes further. It said, he shall lend to you, and you shall not lend to him. That was part of the curse. So
Yep.
it was a reason these business could move in our community and make their way and things like that. And now that the curse is ended and reversed, then you're seeing it's the words leap off the pages. I held back because I'm not a Brit. you you were British centric.
Yeah, yeah. This is for everybody, but yeah, it was more so that across the water, not we, but what the U.S. was doing, was and how it was directly destroying the relationship with the mother, right? How the daughter's
Yep.
relationship was being destroyed with the mother. Yeah,
So
what?
so now that the blessings of the now that the blessings are coming back on us, the corollary is that we're going to start patronizing our own businesses and doing some things. I mean, the curse is going to reverse even when in the land of our captivity. I believe that process will start as these judgments go on Babylon. But we need to take this unity we gather from this time, uh, uh, and be a nation born in a day, so we can get out of here, and be ready and not have to spend a long time in the wilderness with the rebels.
Well, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I wanted to bring this picture on up here. This scripture right here. Give me a second. All right, this scripture here. Let me share this screen. Yeah, this is Isaiah 26:20. I was like, why couldn't I see that? But here's Isaiah 26:20. It says here, come, my people, enter into thy chambers and shut thy doors about thee, hide thyself as if it were for a little while until the indignation be overpassed. For behold, Yahuwah cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood and shall no more cover her slain. What do you think this boycott is about? Because the slain isn't being covered anymore. Sister Chantel, you said something the other day about, how the Brits, they like to hide things. Don't get it twisted. They like to hide things. You had said that the other day.
Yeah,
And
I
now,
I sent you a video about the towns that they destroyed here as well, the black towns that they destroyed here. I sent it to you
mhm.
as well, Uncle. So they've been the
I
daughter
saw that it was a
learned from the mother.
revelation.
Remember, our people were in this country even before slavery. We
Mm.
sometimes forget that.
Well, yeah, because you had a lot of the Jacobite influences and things of that nature, and you all had the direct impact with I wouldn't say the transatlantic slave trade at that time, but again, before the slave trade, it was the Spanish Inquisition. The Spanish Inquisition impacted and affected all of Europe because the Spanish Inquisition was a papal decree.
Wasn't there a Moorish influence in England as well? I mean, if you see that picture of Mary Queen of Scots, she looks like a straight up sister. And King James, and they look at trace this time. In fact, when they overthrew his son Charles, wasn't that kind of a racist thing too? Even though they didn't say it.
Mm.
He was known as the Black Prince.
Yep, that's what I
Hmm.
mean. That was that. There's been a
There's even
line
a
of
pub
black.
named after him.
There's a line
But
of
they want
black
to play
people
like as if he was a.
where there's some
Well,
Irish. I mean, it's all kind of from the Moors. A lot of black folks were in England, prior to
well,
whatever. I don't know. I'm telling you your history. You know.
remember. Here's the part. So now, what? Here's actually what the Pope did without a lot of people not saying this, and they're not saying this because they're afraid that we won't catch on. But we already caught on to this a while ago. We're just now bringing this on up. Okay. When the Pope was talking about the Magnificat Humanitas, right? He was trying to he actually disclosed all of the papal decrees. Okay, here's this. These are all the papal decrees associated with the Spanish Inquisition. So if now you're saying that the Pope has then disclosed that these were all the decrees that were associated with the Spanish Inquisition, that they were going after all of those of basic descent, Black Israelite descent, Yahudim descent, all those that they named, all the bywords that they named. Because why? Because they were up in Europe to drive us out of Europe.
Yes.
Back down into Africa. And then as we were there, guess what? We had our influence there. We can't have our influence in Africa to the new world of the penal colonies. The new world was just penal colonies. That's what that was.
Karis, the Moors spent more time in Europe than we spent in the captivity from the time they landed until the time they got them out in 1492. So they were hating
Yeah,
on that.
yeah, because the Moors officially landed, I believe, about 720. About 720. It was about 720, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Then a period of 1100. That was the Yahya Ben Negro period with the I would say the influence of Islam leaving the Iberian Peninsula, and basically the influence of Islam leaving leaving Europe. But then Rome had a problem with us because there were more people praying to the Yahudim and with the Pope. That was all recorded history. So then there was a from 1100 during that time all the way up to about the mid 1400. That's when Rome was trying to develop their first program or program.
Brother Karis, I'm
Program.
sorry.
Yes.
I asked you a question. I thought about this. You know, the concept of the holy war being in religion,
Mm-hmm.
and the Christians called their holy war the Crusades, and the Islam and Muslims called their holy war jihad.
Mm-hmm.
and both of them enslaved our people.
Yes.
So you have on both sides. So a lot of this returning is going on the other side too. They're also suffering under the those nations are also suffering under the reversal of the curses. But I mean, they're no good guys in that. It was a holy war, and some of the things that the FBAs or people are talking about. I've been praying about this struggle for our people. The same thing is happening now. You have holy wars being spread in the Sahel with these jihadist movements, and also the Crusades are going in there, trying to go in there again with the same thing, causing these wars that they can get more POWs and take the countries there, just like they did with us. So I mean, there's nothing new under the sun. The Bible says they were doing the same thing then, the same thing we're seeing there now. The difference being at this time, so we are rising up at this time. The Most High has our people rising up and arming themselves, and they won't get away with it this time.
Well, exactly, and I would say all of those holy wars they all sprung from out of Rome. That's what I believe, and this is why I'd say it's not just what I believe, but these were the texts that they've had. Scholars have alluded to them, but remember, they're not going to necessarily throw everything away. What they do is they lock it up, because you can't throw away all the knowledge, or else you're going to forget your knowledge. But you have to lock away the knowledge, so then you don't have people having access to it.
And you have the control.
Yes. Absolutely.
You know, to your point about the papal decrees, the slave laws that are still on the books here in the U.S. originated from the doctrine of discovery.
Yep, which is Roman Catholic derived, which goes all the way back to the Dum Diverses.
What's that saying? All roads lead to Rome.
All leads to Rome.
Absolutely. And what are they doing right now? They're trying to have their own. Remember, everybody's into religion now. Religion. I'm a Christian. You know, all this other stuff. Like, if we already knew where this was going. All right, this is going to be the repeat of the Dum Diverses. The problem is that now at a much more globally connected level, there's a lot more pain that gets associated when they try to do things to us. You see what I'm saying? As I was explaining, the pain isn't just, oh, well, you need to stop messing with black people. Don't do that. Bad. You know, okay, we won't mess with black people. That's fine. And then they continue to mess. No. Now it's, let something else happen, and we're going to cut you off from this. Or we won't cut you off, but we're going to cut off France or Italy or
consequence.
Spain. Exactly. And we'll let them deal with you. Because remember, you all don't want to deal with us, but now we're going to have you deal with people that you deem as, you know, more suitable. That's exactly what's happening with the African Union. That's exactly what's happening with the UN. Why do you think Macron is there? That's exactly what's happening with the European Union. That's what he's doing.
It's kind of giving Oliver a twist, isn't it? Please, sir, can I have some more?
Yeah.
Going with your begging bowl.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole thing. I told you, Europe is not going to be begging. They're going to have some problems for a little bit, but they're not going to beg. Like I said, Europe does not care about the U.S. At the end of the day, the Europeaners are going to take care of Europeaners. Hey, sorry about it. Yeah, I know that we're kin. We were cousins once. Not anymore. You're my enemy because you're taking away my resource.
It's
throwing the
interesting though,
harlot under
isn't
the
it, that they'd
bus.
rather go to their enemy, go to Russia, who they deem their enemy, than to just be decent and pay properly and give back what you stole. It's really interesting. They'd rather be enslaved to the Eastern power than just be decent and even, I wouldn't say equal, but there could have been a good partnership between the two of us had they just been like, as they always constantly like to say, we're not our fathers, we're not our ancestors. Really?
Well, Europe were the bad guys in dealing with Russia. The
Yeah.
Brits always were threatened by Russia. Russia wasn't the protagonist in most of those things over there, you know. And even now, they tried to Putin has tried to pivot towards Europe in every way he could. He's really forced out of there. So I mean, that's on them. This making enemy of Russia. Going back to the French, it was just a threat.
Actually,
The Russians messed up first. They tried to establish the New World Order in 1815, and the Russians pulled out of it and messed it up. And some say they came back at the Tsars later on. They never forgave them for that and came back to get the Tsars in 1917. So I mean, it's a lot of it. It's deep.
actually, it was funny because, like, again, like I said, it's when you actually put it down to its basic elements, it was the Europeans at that time, it was just nothing more than family feuds. The Austrians had beef with this people, France had beef with that person, Britain had, or England had beef with everybody, and what they were trying to do as well is they tried to get Russia involved to try to get them to, oh, he's going to be on our side because he's bigger and he's got this and he's got that. Remember, there's a part of Russia's history that they don't want us to know about. Everybody wanted Russia. And the part of, let's not forget about Tartaria.
They still do.
Yep.
They were powerful. Everybody, but here's the thing: they weren't going over. If think about how much power that Russia had, they could have easily conquered Europe, but they weren't that. They just wanted to be left alone to do what they're doing, and somehow they got roped into whatever nonsense. And during the Berlin conference, they were present. And they were the only ones that said, this isn't gonna end well. We don't want nothing to do with this. And because they said, we're not getting involved in this, the partition of the motherland, that's when Europe, all the Europeans turned on Russia, and it was over.
Russia did not have the blood pact with Europe.
No, they didn't.
And when people are like, well, there's not going to be any Gentile countries, I'm like, or nations. I'm like, does anybody read the Bible? There's going to, Sister Gates Aholda, she has broken that down. There are going to be nations. There are going to be nations that did not take part in this confederacy.
It is mainly a European confederacy, if we're going to be honest. That's not to say that they didn't kind of sell us to other places, but these other places, they didn't participate in what happened to us. It was the Europeans. And that's something that they really don't, because that's the one thing we all know about the Europeans. They do not like to be, when the Most High says, when Yeshua said, you were like your father, the devil, what did Satan do? He did not want to go alone. So what did he do? He got 1/3 to fall with him. And it's kind of like how the Europeans are trying to move. Like, oh, they know that, look, please, let's not think these people didn't know who they were taking and what the prophecies were saying. The Bible literally said, you forgot, meaning they knew the end, how it was all going to end. But their greed blinded them. Their pride blinded them. So they knew that this time, this period, we've even seen, what was that name of the president who basically said, I fear for the for our descendants, when he said that if
Jefferson,
that's it.
Thomas Jefferson.
They knew this was coming. They knew this day was coming. So if they know that this day is coming, then they've always known. They try to bring others into their mess.
Sister Chantel, the thing about this country,
I wrote about it. They deliberately wanted to genocide us.
Yeah, they deflect on everyone else the things that they do.
Yes.
So when you see them talking about, oh, these Russians want to do this, they want to do this. The Chinese don't have a history of conquest. They've been conquered, but they don't do that. But we deflect everything onto them. Or they're the most terrible things like that. I mean, look, the Chinese, they invented gunpowder, had it. It wasn't until the Europeans got it. They didn't invent it. They stole it, and what did they do? The Chinese were doing like beautiful displays, and they made it into weapon, took over the world with it.
Yeah, they were doing fireworks.
That's what I'm saying. So I mean, this is who you're dealing with. So when they talk about Iran as the worst, or when they take and they gaslight our people over here and say and try. I think one of the African nations, I'm trying to say, we don't. Earlier on, they said we don't allow our friends to choose our enemies. You know, at that time they were cozying up to the U.S. and they said, well, you can't go with Russia, you can't go with this, and they're saying, no, we don't allow our friends to choose our enemies. And that's what we do. That's what FBA does. We allow the U.S. government to choose our enemies.
Yeah, that's exactly.
FBA is one of the most destructive ideologies that's ever come out.
Well, I think it, and you have to understand the reason is because as the time was nearing, your reparations was it's legitimate, right? And reparations has always been legitimate. It's just part of the COINTELPRO playbook, and even we were talking about this. It's like, look, the spook that sat by the door and everything else. The COINTELPRO operation is, well, since it's legitimate, then we need to
infiltrate
exactly at the very top because it's legitimate. And what did we say here at this, especially on these platforms on this channel? And we were making the case for this years ago. Well, yeah, we could do reparations, but again, reparations, that was a great hot button topic. But here's the thing, it wasn't going away. See, people were trying to bring it up, and then they were trying to quell it, right? They were trying to have that, again, a detente on there. Hey, well, why aren't our Boule Negroes, why aren't our talented Detente, why aren't our sellouts, our traditional sellouts, how come we can't get reparations? Remember, and I think even Jay-Z had spoken out about it, you know, and that got him shunned. There was a couple people, and they would get shunned. Well, you know, it's so they weren't. So by and large, our people were not having it. But again, when Garth and I did come back from Burkina Faso, and I was explaining to Garth, or when Garth and I had been explained to us, especially by Sifue Baleka, the man from Balanta.org, and we had shows on this, so we could try to sue the United States for economic repression, economic abuse. But how then do you have any teeth to hold that up? How do you even get that in a court of law here in the United States? You're not going to. You're never going to.
They'll change the rules to the game. You know, they would trash the country before they give that to you. But what it is, they try and take our energy, a movement energy that we generate up, and they'll try and funnel it to either of the political parties. And this last move is okay, we're just going to all sit down and explain. You know, we're going to we're going to abstain from voting. And they're still trying to funnel our energies into pumping this system over here. They're still trying to get us into, oh, we're going to, well, the Bible says we would have saved Babylon when she would not be saved. FBAs are trying to save Babylon and get a check from Babylon.
Trying to get a check from Babylon to turn it right back on over to Babylon, to a people
and
that hate them.
that's and God is against that. It won't happen. You know, they're looking for reparations, and we'll get recompense, which is better.
Mm-hmm.
But that's from the Most High. That's through following His plan. In disobedience, you're going to get what Babylon has to offer, which is destruction, and what they're going to fall, the fall of Babylon. That's what you'll have. You'll share in their reparations. Yeah, you'll get exactly
The
what
recompense. They'll share in their recompense. That yeah, exactly. And again, the mechanics. See, once the mechanics started to open up, and we could see the mechanics, and I was able to articulate those mechanics. That's what I was telling people. Said, listen, things are happening in the background. We're just not able to see it quite yet. And these are the discussions. There's a couple of different countries, you know, that he had stated, that Sifway had stated that was looking at taking up the cause. But again, that was dangerous. And when Ghana had basically taken up the cause, and when Ghana had put themselves on out there on the line, I don't think our people truly understand what the Ghanaians had literally done. They said, we'll do it. They put themselves on the line for this. Do you know how pivotal that is, to literally say, look, I'll sacrifice ourselves just for our brothers and sisters?
Well, that's courageous. What people don't understand, you're going up against an empire. You're going up against the serpent that's coming after the woman. Look what Iran had to put up with it. They stood up. They tried to stand up against this beast in 1949, when they took control of their oil and were immediately struck down. Just regime took them 20, 30 years. Then finally they come with the Islamic Revolution, and they still had to do this, and they're still fighting, and they had to back it up with guns and membership in BRICS, and do all this work just to be able to stand up what they should have all the time. And we think we're going to, from here, where you got no army, no standing, no anything, under lawfare, when you're basically Dred Scott is the default. ISAI was Dred Scott ever repeal? Was there ever a decision turned? No, not really. The 13th and 14th Amendment really made it invalid, but it was never overturned by a court ruling. So we're operating under Dred Scott. They have no rights demonstrated by our self-defense cases, notorious self-defense cases. We're losing here now. So you got nothing coming here. And it's insane to continue to ask that, thinking yourself, you're a foundation Black American. Sneer at being called an African, and you're calling yourself an American after what they've done to you and continue to do to you, is the height of Stockholm syndrome.
Right, yeah, and let me explain this. When somebody asked, you know, how do we get on the FBA thing and things of that nature? Well, it's so, as a foundational Black American myself, it is okay. We've been here. Our forefathers came over on this transatlantic slave trade. We've had some lineage here. I get that, because that has happened to us, and during that time, we've had a lot of people brought on over via Caucasians to buffer the folks here. It was a controlled class, just like what you had with the Asians, a controlled class. Now, the reality is that when people talk about well, Ghana wants reparations. No, Ghana put themselves on out there to lead the discussion for reparations for all descendants of those
I
trafficked
heard
by.
one foolish woman with a channel saying that they want to steal their reparations. Our reparations.
Well, yeah, but you want to know what though? Why do you think that that's the case? Why do you think? Okay, now you have the mechanisms that's there because at the end of the day, even it's just like the Asians that had been hoodwinked, right, about canceling their affirmative action. Correct? It was somebody masquerading as them, and guess what? They went to the Supreme Court, and all of a sudden, they got their affirmative actions taken away, thinking that they were strengthening it. It's a hoodwink operation. It is.
Roman
And people,
playbook: divide and
yeah,
conquer, divide and rule.
yeah,
There's still that's a sowing seed of divisions.
exactly. And a lot of our people may not understand that they're doing that in ignorance, and that's why you have to pray for our people because they may not understand that. And that's why a lot of African countries are just like, we'll just leave that alone because they won't even really care or be grateful anyway, because that's really what we're seeing in that context. But I do have to say, especially for our brothers and sisters on out there in Africa, especially in West Africa and Ghana, that for a lot of our flaws and misgivings and things of that nature, they literally put themselves on the line in really literally the lion's den. They went to the lion's den to get a historical vote.
You have to think of it. The people who have gold and precious metal in the ground are trying to come after our fiat fake money reparations.
Fake currency.
When they can dig at their own backyard, they just say, well, let's just keep what we got, forget those Americans. I find, they're coming after our fiat fake money, of $40 trillion in debt, reparation, IOU, maybe someday, pie in the sky, when they can just get the wealth out of their own land and kick us to the curb. The fact that they're still concerned about this lets us know that there was a concern, and God
that's all.
Putting us together.
Go ahead. It's always been a concern. They've always wanted us to come back because again, they're not able to control their resources. I've had these conversations with our brothers and sisters in the background. I've had that. Resources that you cannot believe. They don't need no reparations. For what? They got the real money. That's gold and silver and precious metals. They literally have real money, not fiat. Fiat means fake.
Yeah, because you're dealing with this. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them that say they are those and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. That doesn't just go for those ones that we would, with that nation. It's also, remember, Christians want to say that they are the spiritual Israel. And because they claim that America and that Britain and that France, that Europe itself and the Europeans itself, it's a Christian nation under Catholicism, they're basically putting themselves in place of us.
Well,
so
Mammon is strong, sister, it's about money here. Mammon is a strong principality in this country.
Yes, it is.
And the dollar, our money has occultic markings on it. It literally says, "In God we trust." It's got everything like this. It's the spiritual one. So these people, they're looking at, I want to get that dollar. We rap about it.
But the reason why I brought that scripture up is literally to back up what Karis was saying, that they have the gold and they're chasing that fiat currency because It's what is it? It's what it's literally fiat is whatever I say it is. That also includes the gold under your feet is whatever I say it is. Even though you have something tangible and something that is precious, it means nothing unless it comes into our hands. Was you not talking about that about what a year, 2 years ago, Karis? That the
Exactly.
gold that comes out of Africa, it doesn't mean anything to them until it goes into European hands. That's why that prophecy,
they're
that's why it
refining
says,
it. They're
I
about
know
to
thy
say something.
works
Sister
and
Chantel,
tribulation
they're
and
changing
poverty,
that. That was the
but thou art
they are
rich.
refining it. I'm sorry, Sister Chantel. They are.
Sorry, I was just,
Have you not heard? They said they are refined. They stopped sending it out. This is the
yeah,
change.
no, I know that now. I know, well, not know
That's
that
what
now.
I'm
I know they're
saying.
doing that now. But I'm saying that
But you see,
this is the state that they were in, and why even though it's like we want reparations, it's like we still have to have that currency in order to build, to set the foundation so that it then transitions to the gold being what it should be today.
Sister
You can't
Chantel, this is
remember.
an FBA narrative. That's an FBA narrative. That's what we have to fight over here. They're saying
Mm,
those Africans are not smart enough to get their own gold and do their own things and get their own sovereignty and get their own resources. They should have been out of that situation. And they're hiding the fact that it actually is happening. They're blinded to the fact everything they say that the Africans are not doing, they are doing. So I don't want to
I think it's just a lack of
I'm not going
understanding
to
on their part
don't
then.
emphasize the past because that's a new day. This is after the 400 years for them
It's
too.
not a lack
They
of
are taking
understanding.
their
You can
resources
explain
back.
it until you're blue in the face and show them empirical evidence and practical evidence that it's been done. They're not interested in listening to nothing that we have to say.
Okay, well,
I believe they're part of the boule anyway.
well, the
Well, the
scripture does
leaders
say
are.
that they will be blinded in part. I
Well, the
think that's
Most
what
High can show them
Romans.
better than we can tell them. To take an impression that, hey, the Most High show them circumstances will dictate, and the Most High will show them better than we can tell them. But they will remember what we say when it hits. So they got to be some rebels to die in the wilderness. So there it is.
It's kind of sad though, when if you can see that this is what's happening. You can see that okay, they're not trying to take anything, and not to mention they too have, like you said, Karis, last week, that that we were look, Judah and Ephraim were oppressed together, right? They have been oppressed. A lot of people want to say, oh yeah, the Israel was scattered. Well, it actually says Judah was scattered to the four corners because it was only Judah plus the other two tribes that were around at the time of when the Romans invaded.
Well,
But
we
Judah
are
was scattered to
encouraged
the
that
four
the
corners.
ISO speed
So,
generation is going to get the message. A lot of
sorry,
when
what's
they
that?
talk about boomers being backwards, there's some couple of generations after that that are spouting this stuff. And what I'm saying, the ISO speed generation is getting the
Yeah.
memo. And if you got to have another generation die in the wilderness and not enter the land, then so be it. But the information's been brought to them. I'm saying those who want to be like like uh like the two people, the two spies that entered the land, the two they brought back the good report. I'm riding with them. And there's some people who are not going to get it, but they're going to still be moved. You can't turn back the prophecies any more than we could go against the prophecies that enslaved us. We are not going to be able to go against the prophecies that liberate us. So
Do you want to
it
know
is
what I
kingdom
think
come
the
is
issue
here.
is? I think the issue really is down to everybody wants to be a leader, but nobody wants to follow. Everyone wants to be the one that's like, oh, I discovered this, or I'm the one that did this, and I'm the one that did that. And it's like, everybody wants to be that one, and there's not going to be any leaders. Like the Boule class is what? they're supposed to, they've set themselves up, or they were set up as to be the rulers over us. So from their perspective, it's like, it must be frustrating for them to see that they it's like they allude to reparations, but they never really put the groundwork in, because they don't
Well,
really care,
this
because
this
they've got what they want, their little piece of paradise with the oppressor,
this
so
leadership
they
is
don't really
all
care about
about
the
this.
rest.
If you look under at Jesus' disciples, at Yeshua's disciples, they did the same thing. Well, who's going to be at your right hand when you get into the kingdom and things like that? And I think the Messiah's response was classic. He said, "Oh, he basically said, oh, you want to be ballers, shot callers? Can you drink from my cup? Okay, you gonna die, you gonna die, you gonna die, you gonna die." And they said, "Well, what about John? What about him?" He said, "If I want to keep him here until I come back, that's none of your business." All those people who wanted to be the rulers died violent deaths. The only one who lived to die of natural causes was John. And who was he? He was the one that listened. He was the servant. He listened to the Most High. He laid his head on his breast and sucked in all the knowledge. So those people that want to do this, we have to be servant leaders. So let them be leaders. This type of leadership is leaving us anyway, and that's a good thing, because when we had hierarchical leaders in my generation, they could take one clip of ammunition and wipe us out. We're not elevating those type of leaders. It's going to be 1,000 people. It's going to be content creators. It's going to be people like ISO Speed that they can't kill us all. So that's dead. That's dead. Trying to be the leaders. I'm not trying. I'm old. I'm not trying to be a leader. I'm trying to prepare this next generation, which we have to do, like what Karis is doing. So I'm not worrying about these old buzzers that aren't going to change. Hey, we are going to go. They cannot derail the plan of God anymore. We could derail our oppression because it was written in the law. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get in the sermon. Sorry, Sister Santel.
All right, that's good. We'll have to table this discussion for tomorrow. I went a little over, but closing thoughts, comments.
I just want to say thank you very much for having me, and it was a fantastic broadcast. And and the news is coming out by the second. Well, we look forward to what's happening over the next 24 hours. Thank you very much, family, and shalom.
Exactly. So thank you, Brother Asa.
I'll let Sister Santel go last. Because since you have more time. Look, it's amazing as we are obedient to Him. The Most High is doing these things. That's what's so encouraging. Things that we couldn't imagine. He said it would be Him, that He was going to do it. He's taking the lead. He's saying He's not doing it for our sake, but so this is a work of the Most High. So we can look and observe, and all we have to do is ask and listen to His voice and obey His voice and do the things that He has asked us to do. And I'll end with that.
All right. Thank you, Minister Rick.
All I'll say is July is about to be on us in a few days. And there's a lot of exciting things happening in the background, especially with Q2A. So be ready and keep your head on a swivel.
All right. Thank you, Brother Fast Nickel. Sister Chantel.
Hi. Sorry about that. I had to kind of disappear for a moment. Thank you for having me on. I didn't greet people when I came in, so shalom to everybody. And I'm hoping that everybody actually enjoyed their weekend and their Sabbath and so on and so forth. Yeah. What was the last thing you said?
I said we're gonna have to table this discussion for tomorrow because
yeah, I mean,
before
that, like, what was the discussion? What was the last part of the discussion? Because
we're talking about the mechanics of what and how reparations was being done. Yeah, because a lot of people aren't liking how things are being done. Well, here's the thing: people aren't going to like it anyway. That's just how that goes. But it's actually something real and substantive that needed to happen because there had to
Mm.
be an entity. See, there are no entities that were. There was no Ghana. It was Ivory Coast, Gold Coast, Slave Coast, right? These areas were then officially given names
names
that weren't even
that
theirs.
weren't even theirs.
Yeah.
This was all
Yeah.
done
This was
by
all done by
the.
the
Sorry, I'm getting the
sorry,
feedback.
I'm getting feedback.
Oh, it's my
Can you hear
phone.
me?
Yes, I can. There we go.
I just want to say something quickly. Happy birthday, well, belated birthday to Sister Priscilla Sharp. So, yeah. You
Oh,
posted it. I saw it. I said it.
happy birthday! Happy belated birthday, Sister Priscilla.
Look, I think whatever's happening is happening because the Most High has deemed it to happen, including the things that from our perspective go bad. We don't see. It's kind of like the behind the scenes kind of thing with the same thing that you do, the Most High's doing. He's got his things that are happening in the spirit realm that we don't know about that affects everything. And because we only see the negative, or we just see how these people are just going completely bonkers, we don't realize that they're doing that. Or we do, but some people don't realize that they're doing that because of the fact that they're losing their power. And they know they're losing their power. They know that this is the rise of, I don't want to just say us, but I'd say like the rise of the melanated people, the people that had nothing to do with what they cooked up centuries ago and dragged us. So it's like, the way I see it now is that we saw exactly how they reacted, and that was, you will not replace us. They've been saying that over in your area, over here, even as far as Australia and New Zealand. They've been saying that. These people have been saying that, and the irony, the complete irony of that, I get it over here, but I don't. It's so funny. They say you will not replace us whilst sitting in America, North and South, and
And
Canada.
replacing other people.
Right, while saying it in Canada, in Australia and New Zealand. I mean, the jokes write themselves. So 84, hallelujah.
Hallelujah, Sister Priscilla.
And you're here to
84
see
years
it
young.
all.
Hallelujah.
So yeah, to see all of that, to hear them say all of that and everything, say all of that and everything, it's just weird. It's weird. Anyway, I've got to go. Kids are home, so shalom to everybody, and I hope you
Yeah.
enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, thank you, Sister Chantel. All right, thank you, everyone. Shout out again. Happy birthday, Sister Priscilla. It is awesome you're doing well. She has been back and forth from the continent doing her thing. Hallelujah. We're in some truly awesome times, and that's why I do these emergency alerts. War Day 115, a third of the year. Let's just face it, it's about a third of the year. By the end of this week, it's going to be 120, 119, 120. They're not going to stop anything. They haven't stopped anything. I'm looking at stories and articles even here as I speak. They're trying to get other people to fight their wars, and they're saying no. They're seeing how they operate, and now everybody sees how they operate. So now when people see them, doesn't that sound like an Isaiah 26 moment? Isaiah 26, verses 20 through 21. Everybody's seeing this. My goodness, hallelujah. All right, I got to get off the phone, everyone. Or excuse me, get off. I got to get off of here and get on the phone. Got to make some phone calls happen. Got to get some things established. Again, family, thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. It truly is a blessing to work through these things, as Minister Rick had stated. That's what I do. It's not a lot. That's a lot of that is what I do in the background on these calls. And we have to pray for our people, because our people become apprehensive even when they see when I tell people this. Look, and I don't want to be coy, and I don't want to have people afraid, but the way that we're going to be getting out of captivity, our people are going to be. It's going to be very interesting. That's all I can say. It's going to be very interesting. And I have the conversations with our people every single day. And we can see what's happening. They know what's happening. But man, I'm telling you, Babylon did a number on us. That's all I can tell you. With that said, we'll pick up that conversation again, because I do want to do some more research to see what has been going on after the post Next Steps conference. And, we got to talk about these mechanisms, because, again, I believe we already know something else is going to be popping up on the horizon, and that's going to be birthright citizenship. So the question in my mind is going to be this: will that trigger a constitutional crisis? And what does that look like, and how does that look when that is triggered? But with that said, I got to get up on out of here. And with that, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom, peace and blessings, Yasharel.